Mm, mm, mm. Oh, yeah. I'm with this, with it. I'm just gonna lay back and I'ma drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready, let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters Talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the B, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepper with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus State start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus State start to talk. Steppin, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters Talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepper with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus State start to talk.
All right, y'all. Ain't no half step on Marcus J is live. We in the building, ready to have an outstanding show as we do at this time every single Monday night. Schedule's a little bit different. We've been taking time off, so those folks are used to seeing us every single Monday. Just gonna have to get used to some hiatuses, but it's how we roll. We here now. We here live. We ready to have a dope ass show. The flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio is called Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J, and it's live right now.
Yeah.
It's about that time. It's about that time to get. Yeah.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
Ain't no half step on Marcus J is live. We in the building. Be down with us tonight at 804-402-2893. Be a part of the flagship show. Heard live from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio. Thank you for everybody that's rocking with us tonight. We appreciate those folks that's already checked in, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, because y'all rock with us. We will roll with y'all. We getting love already from the listeners. One of my favorite people, from Jersey City. My sister Tammy is checking us out. I guess she saw me sipping and asked me if that's the Crown Royal because she knows that's my favorite. The king is not sipping on the Crown tonight, but I appreciate you knowing that. And thank you for rocking and rolling. We're going to get salutations in right now. As you can notice, we're missing one, but not really, because there he is, right there, live from parts unknown. I'm sure he knows where he's at. I know where he's at. I'm not entirely sure he gonna tell y'all where he's at, but of course I'll get him in just a minute. We'll get us properly and fully introduced before we go to what's supposed to be our co-host, but tonight we're gonna call him special guest star. So, but of course, my sister is right here to my right, as you can see. The co-host of Ain't No Hashtag Marcus J, my sister Steph B. What's up, Steph?
Always forward.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
You having a good day?
I am. I'm having a good day.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be back with my brothers in
Yeah.
here. And,
Yeah.
you know, so much has happened since I last saw you.
It's a lot. We
It's
did
a lot to talk
we did our
about.
return show with the three of us, and
Yeah.
then it was just John and I, and then we were off, and now it's just you and I, but not really.
Not really. He creeped on
There he
into the
is,
den.
of course. My brother, your brother, our brother John is here. What's up, man?
What's up? Listen, if I sound a little crazy, it's because I can like barely hear you.
Yeah.
It's a clear connection, but it's a volume issue for me.
Okay.
And I don't want to be too loud on the show.
Okay.
I got a jury rigged the hookup because the internet where I'm at went out, and so I had to hook something up with one of my other phones and a hotspot, jing to another phone to something else. But I got on the show. You know, that's what's important.
Internet can be out as long as the drinks keep flowing. If I'm on vacation, I don't
Something
care.
like that. Yeah, something like that. This was kind of a vacation / business thing, and it's going good. I found a very secluded place where I'm at that has a lot of good business opportunity. I'm gonna try to take advantage of.
Hey, man, we see that our sister has got her drink. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't here to make it, so we had to make sure that we took care of her sufficiently.
Yeah, I got a call about that too.
decoy
I got a
stepped
call
in.
about
You got a what?
I got a phone call about that.
Look, I appreciate that he cares enough.
Hey, look, man, not only did you get a phone call, but you worked it out. This is what I'm saying. This man even here, and he made sure that we were straight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the den. With
So
the
as
decoy.
you see, I dropped out just then because this is real iffy.
Well, we got you. We see that you in and out.
Say what's up to you guys and tell you I miss y'all. And I'm gonna try to comment on the show if I can keep the connection. If not, I know y'all gonna rock it. And I'll be back next week. And I think the three amigos will be riding again good next week.
Okay,
I
I'm
think
looking
it'll work
forward
out
to it.
that way. I'm looking forward to it, brother. It's good to see your face. Ain't seen
Good to
it
see
in a
y'all
while.
too.
and
Hey,
whatnot.
Steph. I'm
What's
a little
up?
brown, ain't I?
You looking a little
What's-
darker than a paper bag.
light
A
skin. What's
little-
up, brother?
a little darker than a paper bag.
He
A
passed
little
the test.
brown.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
brown. It's
Now
all
you're
right.
not unambiguous.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Be
I'ma see
safe,
y'all
man.
later.
Wherever
Love
you at,
y'all.
man. Be safe and enjoy yourself. And we here,
All
man. If
right.
you want to
I'll
pop
see
back
y'all
in,
as
just
soon as
pop
I
back
get
in.
back.
You got it. Peace.
Love
All
you,
right.
John.
Peace.
You got it.
Careful.
Ain't no Steppin Marcus J live from New Den Legacy
He
Internet.
got a tan. He gonna come back brand new.
You see him, right? You see him, right? He down there
So we know he's somewhere that's warm.
somewhere where he ain't dealing with it's cold as hell, like
Right,
it is here in
right.
RVA.
He's not wearing
You know.
the New York traditional
Nah,
black puffer jacket.
Nah,
Because you know
nah.
you're from New York if you got a black puffer coat.
of course, of course. We get some love from our sister clairvoyant medium, all around spiritual guide. We love her. Our sister Shayna Latia
I really love
is
her.
checking us out. She's saying hi, she's saying love, and she's saying peace to us and
Hey,
whatnot. We love you.
beautiful.
Says peace to you as well. You know, I thought about y'all Brooklyn people. That's
Here
how I'm gonna
we
say it,
go.
y'all Brooklyn people,
Here
right?
we
Because
go.
I saw a news story this morning, and I'm not entirely sure where it was, but it was someplace where it was snowing. It was noticeably snowing,
Okay.
but it wasn't New York. And the interviewer, it was one of those man on the street type of deals,
Yeah.
where they just caught this cat just strolling around. And he asked him, where you from? He said, man, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and y'all tripping over this little bit of snow. This ain't even nothing. You know what I mean? This is how we do it in the summer.
Summer.
And he was so New York. Like, this dude was so New York. Like, even as Jersey cats was like, yeah, I know him.
You meet
I
those
know
dudes.
him. I know him.
Every time I go back,
It was the
visit
trip.
my family and everything, I run into that dude.
You know what was the funniest part about it?
Hey, yo, mom.
The funniest part about it was he didn't have any gloves on. He had his jacket was half open.
I mean,
you know what I mean? And I understand, because that's
your
how I
blood
be
is thicker
sometimes.
when you live in it.
And the interviewer asked him, he was like, "You ain't even gonna wear a coat or nothing." He was like, "Man, I'm good, bruh. I'm good." I was like,
But you know what's funny about it is, a lot of times once the snow is on the ground, that's not the coldest point in time.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I do. I haven't really been overly dressed, but of course RVA, they play with the snow.
Yeah.
They make you, people go out and clear the shelves, and then you get nothing. It's all for the grocery
That's how
industry.
they do it. I was having a conversation. First of all, before I do that, let me get some more love in. My brother CL is checking us out. He's saying peace and love, Kingdom. He's saying peace to me. What up? Peace to you, brother. Good to see you. Glad you rocking with us. It's a trip, because the whole weather thing. Like, I'm typically wearing a fleece or a sweatshirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My full-time job keeps me outside. I work, and I'm jumping in and out of a car, and so I'm not always as cold as maybe I should be.
But you're in the car, a lot of times you're dressing for
Yeah.
the fact that you're going to be indoors most of the time, or in the car. Why not?
Like, when I came here, like where we park is let's just say that we don't have to go far,
Right?
And I left my jacket in the car. I didn't need it, because I'm wearing a fleece.
Somewhere right now, like, baby, you better put on your coat.
Man, listen, if my mom is listening right now, she very well could be. I saw Mom last month when I went home for a funeral. And last month I was 47 years old. I'm 47 years old now, but it doesn't matter.
That don't
That
matter.
doesn't matter, because she looked me square in the eye and said, "Where's your hat, gloves, and scarf?" Like she's been saying to me since we've been talking, since I
Go
could
ahead,
talk.
say it louder for my daughter,
Where's your
who
hat?
thinks
your
she
gloves?
doesn't need to be
so,
told.
I'm usually well coiffed, so I don't want to wear a hat.
Yeah, you like your coils
Yeah,
showing.
like coif showing. You know what I mean? I like y'all to see
what's
my
so-
coif, so I don't want to wear a hat. There's a little vanity working here.
Yeah, I remember that. And I still feel that way. I'm
Yeah.
like, if I put on a
See?
hat, I can't wear a bow.
See, I wear a hat for the show. It's a uniform.
Yeah.
It's a uniform. I've never done a show in over 10 years without wearing ball caps. Kind of a thing.
I was talking to my daughter the other day. She worked out not too far from like the Supreme Court and Brooklyn, that that whole area, which is now bougie. They don't call it downtown Brooklyn. They call it Dobro. So it's for the people now. It ain't for us. But she was FaceTiming me while she was walking it, and I was so distracted. I was like, "Where's your hat and gloves?" And her response was, "Mom, I'm 24. I know how, I don't care. I'll be 84, still asking, where are your hat and gloves? Did you wear your hat and gloves?"
You're going to always be a parent.
Yeah, that doesn't change. It's funny how they expect that to change all of a sudden. My role is still my role.
It is, and it's funny because, as you get older, you find yourself on the other side of the discussion,
Absolutely.
And talking to Mama J versus Mom's J, the ladies on either side of me, my mama and my mama. So I like to call them. And it's a trip because, Mama J don't want to wear no coat. She,
no,
you know what I mean? She don't.
You too cute to be in a coat. You on college campuses flexing.
She don't want to wear no
Come
coat.
on now.
Man. And I, my only thing is like, don't be the girl running across the campus in the shoes she can't wear. Don't be her, because she's getting talked about.
Well, Marcus, I want to tell you.
Oh, here we go.
A nice little population of young girls go through that. It's the transition. You have your glow up. And then you learn, okay, I know how to buy shoes that look good, feel good, fit well.
Yeah.
But initially it's all about the look.
Let's talk.
You learn the hard way.
Let's talk about that. And, I had planned to bring this up later on in the show, but I think we just kind of stumbled upon the appropriate time to talk about femininity coaches. Femininity coaches.
Oh my.
Femininity coaches. That sounds
Oh
crazy.
my.
It sounds crazy, don't it?
Now, why does it sound crazy to you? I just want to know. I
Well,
want to understand.
it sounds crazy to me because it doesn't seem to me like we need to be teaching ladies how to be ladies. One, two. I like to know who the hell the teachers are. Because please tell me it ain't some dude somewhere.
No, not for the. Ironically, this is one of the times where something is being sold to women, specifically by women.
Okay.
So, I mean, coaching is a capitalistic space like anything else, right?
Okay.
And I'm saying that as someone who's certified in 5 different areas, considered a master coach. And I'll tell people in a minute, coaching is not therapy. You go to a therapist
For therapy.
I kind of use it this way: therapist to look back and uncover, coach to move forward and progress.
Okay.
Right? That's why I say always forward, because
Right.
that's what I'm thinking about. What are the next steps? What are we doing? Action oriented, right? And so because coaching has become such a marketable space, I don't necessarily want to say lucrative, because not everybody's making money doing it, right?
Right.
But it is a highly branded, marketable space. So over the during the pandemic, when we were at the highest part of the pandemic, where people were starting to feel lonely and it was starting to set in, and there was a lot of online interaction, this blew up. It was always there. There was always this segment of women who did femininity coaching. Now, the irony of it is some of them would have labeled themselves as, or would label themselves as, feminist. So they were talking about your authentic you. Who are you as a woman? How do you tap into that? How do you understand it better? And then how do you employ it in different spaces? And then what happened is this interesting little thing. It crossed out of, so I'll honestly say there were a lot of femininity coaches. They were feminine embodiment coaches, and it looked one way. And then it transitioned into something totally different. And because it transitioned to another space, a lot of feminine coaching is about hypergamy. And for people who don't know what that means marrying above your station, so to speak. It's where people like Kevin Samuels have come out of. So, telling you how to embrace your sensuality, employ it to get what you want, to move forward. And really, it talks about disengaging from the masculine energy that so-called successful women have, right? So the whole premise now with the new femininity coaches that I'm seeing, and these are the ones that are like blowing up on TikTok, hosting events, things like that.
So it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing, Marcus.
I have questions.
I can't
you're
wait.
Gonna get me there.
I cannot wait. So now that it got really, really popular during pandemic, you saw people jumping in, and the bulk of the femininity coaches come from conservative spaces that are very patriarchally driven. So most of them are teaching you things like how to be more desirable.
See, this is where I thought it was going at first. And that's why I said, I hope it ain't no dudes teaching this.
Right. Well, Kevin Samuels is he's
Right.
the king of femininity coaching with no vagina.
Yeah.
But that, not everybody that identifies as woman has a vagina. But I'm saying he legitimately was not right. I'm gonna get us canceled. He was legitimately.
Well, we independent.
Not bored.
So we can't
get
canceled.
canceled.
Yeah.
Cancel what?
Yeah.
We're not Joe Rogan.
Not at
But-
all.
But the whole thing for me it's interesting what it looks like in the hands of Black women. So I actually saw a short clip, and there was a woman at an event who was, I guess, a femininity, and there are masculinity coaches. I haven't even, please. And she was basically saying to the women in the room, how is it that you are not telling these men what to do to help you? Say, you're not telling the men to pull out your chair, but you want to be respected as feminine. So how can they lead you if you won't educate them on blah, blah, blah? And I thought to myself, how do you lead me if you're a leader that needs to be told what to do?
Doesn't make sense.
And make it make sense, Marcus J.
Can't.
You cannot lead. You can't tell me to follow and ask me for the map.
No.
What we doing? Get out my way. I got the map. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons it doesn't really bother me so much, except that coaching has gotten so bastardized that I do get a little upset about it, because as someone who coaches a lot of entrepreneurs and people toward small and micro business success, a lot of people throw out the word coaching and then tag something in front of it with very little education, or with education that could be toxic. So a lot of these women are digging into, okay, femininity coaches, how do you look? How do you engage your sensuality? Drop your successful behaviors, which they are basically saying that successful business women, and I probably to a lot of them would fall into that category, are single or not engaging the love they want to engage, because we're taking the same masculine energy that we have to use professionally and applying it personally. And I guess my statement is, I'm not successful because I'm employing masculine energy. Men aren't the only people who are doers.
That's the baseline.
Women are doers too.
They're
And what they're
referring to
saying
the
is
baseline.
you need to fall into your receiving space and stop being such a giver and get softer, and then men will do more and they will engage you. And the reason that man didn't pull out your chair or hold your hand while you walked up the stairs was because your masculine energy from your successful life is leading you. Bullshit.
Yeah, as you're
And bullshit
the
again. I
more
just need to
the
say it
more
one
you
more time.
saying it, the more I'm just like, man, this is a whole can of worms. And I'm not the target audience, and so often when you're not the target audience is a perfect time for you to kind of shut the fuck up.
Well, I'll say this. So have you seen Kevin Samuels? Now I'm interviewing the interviewer.
Yeah,
Have you seen Kevin Samuels? You've heard him?
I've heard of him.
Okay.
I know that he says things that gets people upset sometimes.
He talks about high value men and how to be a woman that attracts a high value man. And some people have bastardized that. Like,
but see, the
if you
thing
had
is,
too many kids, you're not going to get a high value man.
I don't know, man. It's like, I don't want to be a hypocrite on this one, but I really don't need a dude to tell me how to be a dude. I don't need a dude to tell me how to deal with women. Like, I'm chick friendly.
Yeah. Well, and also,
and they like me.
Isn't
You
the
know what I'm saying?
masculinity you're born with, or don't you want to be your genuine, authentic
I
self?
think that it's funny that you say that. I'm watching the show right now. I'm watching the show Competition. Ain't nobody like me, period. And so
I love the look. See, he's looking my way. When he said that, the whole expression on his face, that period was emphatic. No, there's nobody like me, period.
And I like being me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get too far off the topic, but I don't know much about Kevin Samuels. I heard about what he does. I got no heat with the dude, but I'm a dude that knows kind of what I want to do.
Right.
And how I'm gonna do it and how I'm gonna move. Like, my pops was Kevin Samuels. My father taught me how to be a man. Yeah. And my older brother taught me how to be a man.
Stick to that lane of talking to men about what they do and how they do it. And even if the women who are doing this so-called femininity coaching were being real about it. First of all, I would think that anybody that's looking for a partner is looking for a partner that's functioning as their genuine selves.
Right.
If the girl doesn't want to wear a bow and look like a girly girl, or like what are you doing?
We get caught up in this thing. Well, hold on. Before we do this, let me get a couple of salutations. And my best friend in the world, my brother Damon, is checking us out. What to do, homie?
Damon.
What's good, family? He said, "Hey, Steppy." One of the original 7 of Legacy Internet Radio, my sister and yours, the dating pool diva, author Charisma, one of my favorite people, is listening right now.
I do love
and
her.
She
put up there.
She got Kevin Samuels with like the
eye roll
face
emoji.
Yeah, with that and whatnot. The thing is, I'm also a free spirit. Is the reason why I could border on arrogance and not really care, because I know
Gemini
that I don't value myself more than you should value you. So when I say ain't nobody like me, period, I could say that and not like think that I'm better than you when I say it. So that's how I could be so emphatic about it, because it ain't nobody like me.
I mean, it's the truth.
And ain't nobody like y'all.
Right.
So
yours is yours, mine is mine.
With that as a backdrop, I kind of scoff at somebody trying to coach you out of being who you are. You should be coached into your true essence.
Yes.
And so if your true essence is to be a woman who's not very feminine, I think as a
or
dude,
you identify your femininity differently than I identify mine.
And I also think that maybe as a man, maybe I'm not completely understanding, because see, initially when you brought this up during our pre-work earlier today, I'm in my mind thinking femininity is more physical. Are we teaching this lady how to use her feminine wiles? I've always said on
Part
this
of that
show,
is in there.
I've always said it in the show, and I did used to get in a little bit of trouble for this, but I used to always say that if our sisters in the Dating Pool Diva who's listening, hopefully you'll remember I used to say this, and by all means comment if that's your pleasure. But I always said that our sisters don't use the power with the brothers that they should.
I do agree
There's
with that
more
on
power,
some level, that
because
we have
if-
more power than we acknowledge.
If y'all demanded that the brothers pull their pants up and say no box, no boxers,
Yeah,
no boxers,
I'm not even talking
pull
to
your
you if
pants
you look
up.
that way.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I don't try to do a nice analogy. I butchered it, but the point I'm making is y'all got the power to tell the brothers you can't come here unless you pull your pants up.
And some of us do.
And a lot of you do.
Yeah,
Like my daughter
yeah.
does that, and
Yeah.
I've seen her do it.
Yeah, because I have no interest in that.
That's not.
I can't even take that where I go.
I don't. There's certain things that I understand, but there's certain things about sisters I don't understand either. So I don't want to do that. But
I think the bigger thing for me too with the whole femininity coaching is that so many of the people that are moving forward in it are moving in a space that is extremely conservative, extremely patriarchal, and I'll say this from the Black femininity coaches that I've seen, because prior to it booming during the TikTok phase, which pandemic is when TikTok became a big thing. Prior to that, it was primarily white women that were in that space, and it was about the embodiment of who you are and accepting who you are and loving who you are and pushing through. It's transitioned over, and we have to be honest and say that even outside of every, a lot of Black people are moving into non-religion, agnosticism, atheism, those areas. But overwhelmingly, we are conservative. We are male leaning. Listen, as recently as Friday, I had somebody arguing with me about a woman arguing with me about R. Kelly and his behaviors, and all of her language about R. Kelly was protective, and then all of her language about the young girls was the B word and this and that. We are patriarchal leaning as a Black community. Where does ride or die exist in our community? You don't hear white folks saying that. There's no expectation that a white woman is going to put herself in a position of anything other than being taken care of. We're being put in a position of ride or die, which is support, fundamentals, foundational. And then the minute that we step into that role, you're not feminine enough. You got to make up your mind.
Decide who you want to be. The Dating Pool Diva says, yes, you have said that a lot, referring to me saying women step into your power in that way.
I've heard you say that, which means you believe it.
I honestly believe that, and whether it's something that is shared by the sisters, I can't engage in whether y'all agree with me on that. That's
Right.
how I feel about it, but I do know that we live in a white supremacist patriarchal world with those two coming, kind of hand in hand. You got to be white and you got to be male, and everything else goes from there.
And then we have those who aspire to have the power of white maleness. We really do.
But see, I think where we mess up is that we don't acknowledge that when we look at that scale, the way I laid it out, at the bottom of it is the sisters, the Black women,
Absolutely.
because not only are you Black, but you also are a woman. And so that, and the diva knows that, and Tammy knows that, and Shayna knows that, but the problem is, do the brothers know that? Do the brothers celebrate that? Because we as men are often, well, not often, we're caught up in the patriarchy as Black men.
Yeah.
We're not caught up in the white supremacy for obvious reasons, but we're caught up in the patriarchy,
Which is power.
That's how you can have a man who left his house at the same time as his wife, got home a half an hour before her, and expects her to come home and cook.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And there's some patriarchy there when you are determining gender roles. Now,
there's a trained patriarchy there.
Well, there is.
It's for the women. A lot of times I'm gonna give the brothers a little slack. A lot of times it's something that was taught to the women that, you will see somebody at 5 or 6, you will hear someone say to a child 5 or 6 years old, how you ever gonna get a man if? So the entire training, the entire perspective of growth and development is this femininity coaching, and it's almost a flawed thing because cooking dinner in stilettos and robes with feathers doesn't mean that he's going to marry you and carry you away into a life of of comfort and peace.
And he shouldn't expect you to do that.
And he
as his
shouldn't
wife.
expect you to do that. But also, we shouldn't be training women that femininity looks like one thing.
Right.
Because the guy I want, and it's not speaking for me, but if I'm not that kind of girl, maybe I don't want a guy who wants to see me all dolled up all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy for me wants to go to the game and wants to see me chilled out in my Knicks hoodie and this, that, and the other. So it's better to be training people to lean into who they are authentically, which always goes back to what you said about it has no competition.
No, it really doesn't, and I don't say that in a moment of arrogance. I say that in some truth. Like, y'all ain't like me. I'm not like y'all. I think that
when you say the y'all ain't like me part, it come off real hard.
I mean, I needed to, though.
That's what I'm talking about.
I needed to. I think often, I don't want to get too far off this, but let me just say this about that. We get caught up in this thing where we're not supposed to say nice stuff about ourselves.
Yeah.
There's a word that we
Humility,
learned very,
toxically.
very young. They used to say you was conceited if you say nice stuff about yourself. It's like, if I say something nice about myself and it's a fact, is it wrong?
No.
Of course it's not. But here's the thing. I can sit here and say the greatest things about you, and that's great. I can't say nothing nice about myself. I think we get a little bit too crazy with that. It's not about being patting yourself on the back and any of that kind of stuff. Like, identify your strengths and love you, and be authentic in it. That's really one of the coolest things about life. You get to be you.
Yeah.
And nobody else gets to be you. Like, everything that comes with it.
And I would rather experience a total you than a partial you, because then, I was talking to a good friend of mine today, and we were talking about building authentic relationships, friendships, things like that. It comes from people being transparent, and giving you their whole selves. Now, it also means that if we're going to actually carry a real friendship, you'll recognize the parts of you that trigger elements of me, and we'll work to not have that living in our space.
Yes.
That is what it is. It's all a part of it. But do I really want you to come along? And if you're a person that, some people might be the type that, like, I'm a manners person. When we go out somewhere, leave your I chew with my mouth open, I smack my food shit at home.
Yeah.
Leave it at home.
Yeah.
That's just who I am.
Yeah.
It's a Virgo trait.
Yeah.
We're neatniks about things like that.
Yeah.
So if we go out and that you're that person and that you're going to your way through dinner, my authentic self is going to be like, for real?
Well, that's the key. That's the key, though.
And it should be okay.
It should be, because my authenticity doesn't trump yours.
There you go.
You see, and when I say it hard, maybe that's the interpretation, the misinterpretation. Because I think anytime a person speaks confidently on themselves, there's a level of perceived arrogance. Like, nah, I could put myself over and at the same time do the same thing for you. I could talk about how great you are in the same breath, talk about how great I am.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't take anything away from you.
And that's the key. Authenticity has no competition. Why are we in competition? That's why I say it.
Yes.
That's why I say it.
If we could start to acknowledge that communally, it would change a lot for us.
Well, yeah, because we walk around thinking that the sun shining on one grass of oil is going to make it so the rest of the grass ain't going to grow.
Y'all hear that, brother? Say it one more time.
Y'all walk around thinking that the sun is shining on one ear of grass and the rest ain't going to grow.
Right?
Come on, man.
And there's room for all of us. There's also room for all mindsets. So I do want to be clear that while I significantly disagree with the idea of a femininity coach, because it works against my belief that leading with authenticity is the greatest measure or the greatest road to success, I also recognize that there are women that are going to ascribe, subscribe, and prescribe their lives according to that. And if that's what they want to do, that's cool. I just think that in the space of coaching, and I do say this as someone who charges for coaching, you pay for what you need, but the coach's responsibility is to be honest about what's coming from this, right? And if I'm trying to give you education as a coach, it should be something that's repeatable. And for it to be repeatable, it has to be genuine to your nature.
Right.
So if it's like, I actually read a thing the other day, and this femininity coach who has probably one of the larger followings on Instagram was talking about how when you wear heels, so take your time. The mark of a feminine woman is she doesn't rush. I grew up in Brooklyn.
Well, that was the other question that I wanted to ask you.
I grew up in Brooklyn.
Let me get you.
Sometimes I'm in a rush.
Right. How about that? Let me get you to clarify something before you do. We have a salutation that we have to give. The sister of one of our favorite listeners is checking us out. She gets her own special greetings when she says good morning. So we look at the camera and we say, "Good morning, Latrell." Yeah.
And then you do the thing people do to siblings. Where's Sue?
Yeah, right.
Where's Sue?
Yeah. Where your sister at?
Where your sister?
It lives, and she might live in the same world that I lived in. My older brother's name is Chuck. I was little Chuck I was in my 30s when I stopped being called that. One of the things that I would like to ask for the purposes of clarity on this topic is femininity. And as a dude, and I shouldn't preface this, but I'm going to, as a dude, I don't want to say I don't know what femininity is, because obviously I do, but for the context, you kind of tipped your hand, or tipped the hand, I should say, when you mentioned putting on heels and taking your time. But are we talking about literal day-to-day? I don't even know how to ask I don't even know how to ask the question, so I'm gonna just not try to not. I was trying to be politically. Let me just ask the question.
I want to. You want to ask.
Is it being girly?
Is
that what we talking about? Are we talking about girly coaches?
It's a lot of practicing the version of femininity that is about your feminine energy. And yes, how you look. So a lot of times it's, what are you wearing? And that masculine appearance is pushing a man away, or, what's drawing him in. And it's often rooted in ideas that are about respectability.
Yeah.
And Black folk love respectability politics.
Yeah.
Truthfully, while I am a woman who I don't want to go anywhere with a grown ass man with his pants hanging off, believing that pulling your pants up changes the perspective of the world and what they have about you, that's respectability politics.
I think that I'm okay with that, though, because you get to be the arbiter of what is appropriate around you. And so we can give it all the fancy political terms we want and say respectability, politics. But, a sister don't want a brother, with his pants sagging no more than I want you around, smacking gum and sticking your nail in your teeth, click. Like on from Friday.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst.
Or we don't want, what's the Tyler Perry, the Tyler Perry movie? Byron. We don't want
Listen,
her.
I haven't seen many of his movies, but I know that one.
Hey, look, this gonna come off funky. I know it is, but I do not value that kind of woman.
That's my girl.
You can have her. That's annoying. Like, she knew it was being annoying. It's not. Let me not say I don't value that kind of woman. For me, the trigger for me, if I was going to hire a femininity coach to coach, it would be the whole thing of, you're wrong, say you're wrong, say I'm sorry, and say it on the spot. Because I have found that a lot of our sisters, and we can do the stereotypical thing, we can do the stereotypical thing with guys if you want to.
We did the pants, so go ahead.
I have found that a lot of our sisters will know they're wrong, but will refuse to apologize because they don't feel like they should. And so it's part of the dance that we play as men and women. There are certain liberties that we as men, we just take, and we shouldn't, but we do. Just take liberties. Like, hey, I'm a man, that's how I'm gonna do it. Whereas there are certain liberties that ladies take as well. And this is what I mean by, you understand the power that you have. The little things that you do that you're doing to get on his nerves, like not apologizing when you should. Little things. And for every couple, there's something different. But can we learn as men to not feed into what we know pisses her off, and vice versa?
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
now before you
don't
respond,
be antagonistic.
don't be. There you go. That's the thing. Like, you know, his triggers. Like, I'm gonna get him.
And I want to,
You know, but before you respond, I gotta get some couple comments in.
That's where I wanted to go. Was one of her charisma.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'll let you read that one. But we're getting our sister Michelle is checking in. She's saying present.
All right.
and
accounted for.
And then we got the good morning that we was looking for.
Oh,
and so
no shade to the throat. We love her.
We love both. They both gonna get the same, you know, greeting and love.
Yes,
know, nobody else.
Only two.
Nobody else gets special greetings but them. You know, but Big Sis just checked in, so we're gonna give it to her and we're gonna say. Good morning, Sue. Dated Pooh Diva, author charisma.
I'll be robbing one day, Sue. I'm robbing.
Yeah, I've been robbing for years. I've been robbing.
I'm working on it.
I've been robbing for years. All right, so you see,
look at Latrell.
You see.
Well, I got you, sis. I got you.
Well, damn. Hey, look. That's why we led with you both get the same salutations. Nobody else gets it but y'all.
Good thing they love each other so much.
Look, good thing, and it's a good thing I love them. They have no idea.
Yeah, they don't.
And that's how come I be extra with it, you know. And as I've gotten older, I've learned, you know, I ain't had to learn from no masculinity coach.
This man is lovey-dovey,
you love someone, tell them.
You are.
Make it weird. Make it weird.
You will go there.
I will.
I gotta give you credit for that.
I will absolutely go there because I value my peace and my conscience more than it being weird. Yeah. You know, my peace says I love you, Steph. So I gotta say it. My piece says I love Sue and Latrell. So I gotta say it, or I gotta show them. You know, that's why whenever I see them, or Damon, you know, or the diva, the last time I saw her, you know, like it's important to me. If I fucks with you, you gonna know.
You're gonna know it. You say it again.
And if you don't get the love and greetings that everybody else seems to get, it's probably because I don't fuck with you like that. I mean, you know, it's just what it is. And you make it weird. But then she comes back and says, keep it up.
Yeah. See, but you know what?
Keep it up.
That's that thing when you have that authentic connection too. I like that. I like how you both demonstrate it when you're around. When I've had the opportunity now to see that.
I'm gonna make it weird. All right, so let's go back to the let's get the diva in. I'm gonna put her comment up.
She makes a very good point.
I'm gonna put her comment up on the screen so everybody can see it. If you're watching our live show, you can see her comment is there. Steph, I'd like you to read it and we'll comment on her comment.
So author Charisma says characteristics that are not just in the outside but inside. Femininity is about nurturing, being sensitive, warm, loving, helpful, etc. You don't have to be, quote, girly to be feminine. I do not disagree with her. I just think that what I'm focused on is the people who are building their revenue base off of it. And the biggest pushes will talk about the superficial aesthetic of, quote unquote, femininity. And I think also I want to be clear, you know, being nurtured, I would love a partner that's male, because I'm cis hetero. So that is nurturing, that is sensitive, that is warm, that is loving, that is helpful, etc. And the fact that so many people are ascribing that specifically to femininity, I think is one of the issues we have within our community, with men playing so hard all the time. And not like brothers will say, man, you can't even let your guard down for a minute. It's because we're telling them that being nurturing and sensitive and warm and loving and all these, or taking a moment to express how you feel. Cry if you need to. Some of y'all brothers need to cry. Some of y'all brothers need to purge. There's a little too much pent up in there. That's not feminine. And so a lot of what I'm seeing is femininity coaching that is very centered on how you present if you're going to get into the dating game, or hypergamy, which is dating above, quote unquote, your station. And I just think that we would all be better off if we proceed through life as our genuine selves. Because the minute you start trying to fake that other thing, whatever your energy is your energy. And if you happen to be female with that energy, that's your feminine energy.
Yeah.
Why are we trying to say that it only looks this way or it only looks that way? Some women are not naturally nurturing.
Right.
That's not scientifically. Some women are not naturally nurturing.
Right.
And I think to go so deep in it where you're like, you know, it's like a girl who grows, a woman who grows up and decides, I don't want to be a mother. Now you look at Oprah. She is nurturing communities all across Africa. But her nurturing is about education and growth from that
She's
standpoint.
different.
But she has no interest in being somebody's mother.
None.
That's not where she wants what she wants to nurture and grow. I just would like to say that ultimately, before you pay anybody, I don't care if it's me and the space that I'm in as a coach and consultant, I don't care who it is. Before you pay them, one, make sure they align very well with who you are, and two, make sure that what they're giving you is authentic. Because if you don't practice authentic you cannot be consistent in getting the things or that you want or keeping the people that you need around.
Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from New Den Legacy in that radio. Our sister Michelle says, I love y'all. She loves us. She loves us.
Thank
and we love you too, man. Thank you. Sue says, I am all those things and I am not girly.
Damn.
Yeah, that's what it is. Our sister, the career cheerleader.
Successful.
She's so successful.
So successful.
So successful.
And I love saying it because I
too.
mean it.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna catch her in a moment where she's not saying it.
She's an honorable member of this crew. You know that,
yes,
right?
She
is absolutely an honorable member of this crew.
An honorary family for me.
Absolutely.
I love her. Every moment we spend together is a joy.
Absolutely. Legacy and Radio alumni and an honorable member of this show, especially after her hosting and being a part of our 10-year show. So but anyway, she was trying to get in a different area than when she normally gets in, and she was having some technical stuff, but she got in. She says that I realized that I've been selling for less. This story I need legit. Just realized what I thought I was okay with, I was not.
That's huge.
Bless my heart.
That's you. And you know
Did
what?
she bless her own heart, y'all?
She blessed her heart.
Yes.
Because you know what? To be successful, you got to be accountable.
Absolutely. There
and
you
sis
go.
is accountable.
Yeah.
But she makes a good point too. When you get too steeped in those other things, okay, well, you're gonna give me femininity coaching, and now I'm so caught up in this, that, and the other, and trying to change who I am and what I look like and how I sound, and and not be as firm as I am in my beliefs, which is one of the things that it highlights. You can be sure of yourself, but not that sure.
Yeah.
You end up sometimes in a space where you get what you don't want because you're not truly acknowledging who you are.
Not only that, well, yeah, I was going to say not only that, but it's kind of the same thing in a different way. You have to
nails it.
Oh yeah, Luther says people making money off of anything.
Listen, capitalism is alive and well. Sis.
When I see this, and I'll just say this last thing, and then we're going to move on. When it comes to a femininity coaches, just as a man, I don't know what it means specifically because, to me, there's a lot that comes with femininity and where we were going with this. I'm sure that there are different places depending on the feminine person.
Sure.
Whether that's a woman or not. Because see, if you're going to have femininity coaches, I suppose you have to open that up to
anybody who ascribes to
whether
femininity.
They're a born woman or not.
Yeah.
Because maybe you have a gay dude.
There are some who work
coach,
with the trans community.
Yeah.
But to Latrell's point, everybody is finding a way to make money.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. So I just put a bow on this. You'll take the last word after me on this, and then give it back to me so I can move us to our next topic. But when I see femininity or masculinity coaches, which we haven't talked about because I don't imagine it's a whole thing like this is, I value authenticity. I value being what you are and how you are. And so whether I rock with you or not is irrelevant to this point because there are plenty of people in the world who I value, who I want to rock with. You know what I'm saying? And there are people who think that I'm a cool dude, but they don't want to talk to me. And I could dig that. Like, we don't have to rock with everybody just because they exist. But we are supposed to respect them. We're supposed to respect them. Absolutely. Even if we don't rock with them.
Absolutely.
And I think if we can understand that, and if we can get to a point where that's a whole thing, you ain't going to need a femininity coach. Because you're going to respect the person that you're dealing with anyway.
Right. And if you can't, then that's not your person.
You don't need to be dealing with them, whether it's in a professional, personal, business, whatever it is. If you don't like them, don't rock with them. But now, the capitalist will say, if it's green, let it lean. I don't know what that means. I just rhymed it. I don't know what that means. This is why I can't freestyle.
Let it lean.
Just because it rhymed don't mean it go together. I don't know what I was trying to say. But I think the context clue was, if it's green, they're going to go with it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So,
Exactly.
it's what it is. Let's see here. Cara says, heart, heart, heart. Love it. Yes. Give yourself some love. I can dig it. Self-care is the self-preservation is the first law of the land. Arthur Charisma says, and folks will follow them even if
She
even if
nailed
what
it.
they saying is toxic. Girl,
She nailed it.
you might have just said the whole comment.
That's it.
Yeah. That's the big joker. That's the hand in the table that's busting up the dominoes.
Yeah. You got some people out there right now like, what?
Yeah, they don't know what I just said. Hey, look.
The big joker.
Ask your friends sit next to you.
Yeah,
They'll tell you.
right. And
It reminds me of? I'm about to delve into a story about how soon Latrell refused to teach me how to play spades and told me I had to just learn by watching, which I did.
Spades players do not put you in.
Sue would tell me, just learn, just watch with attitude.
I didn't get my black card on spades until I was much older.
Had the whole rock eyebrow the whole time.
I'm new to the spades society.
20s, 30s, or 40s? 20s, 30s, or 40s?
30.
Oh, Lord. Oh.
Blame it on the PWIs.
I bet you she reneges and everything, y'all. You ain't figured out how to hide the card.
Low key, yeah.
Yeah. Latrell says,
shout out to my cousin Brenda though. I visited her in Jersey and I won a couple games with her because they were willing to be like, all right, let's see what you got.
They had a little grace with you.
They had a little grace.
Yeah,
but they were real players.
Sometimes you need to have a little grace with your family because your family ain't gonna have no grace with you.
That's the
you know
truth.
what I'm saying?
That's
So
the
let's see. Latrell says, and a couple of comments are coming in, and then I want you to take the last word, and then on the femininity topic, then we're gonna move on. Let's see. Latrell says, nonsense like this is why people have mental health issues, i.e., low self-esteem, irrational beliefs about others, suicidal ideation from not meeting assumed expectations. That's some real talk. Yeah. And thank you, Steph. I paused because when I saw ideation, I was like, what does that mean?
Sorry, I was reading along with it. I'm like, am I saying that right?
And then now I gotta look up ideation. Thank you very much. Context clues. I got it.
Y'all gotta test our degrees all the time.
You know what I mean? College, when Big Bro Joe had his show, big hashtag brother sister shenanigans on Wednesday nights. Yeah. They used to do college word. So when this would happen, they would stop the show and look up the word. There you go. We're not gonna do that, but I want to.
I get the beat down in my crews for being the 10. They were like, there go those $10 words.
Yeah, man. Well, that was a twofold. That was a way of me throwing shade and throwing love to Big Bro Joe. Yeah. Sue says, watch and learn. Damn it, you too old to be getting spoon fed. I was 18. I was not in my 30s some people were.
I was being somebody's mother between 18 and then.
Couldn't play spades, right?
I couldn't play spades. I had to be a mom.
Cara says, my family only lets me take school. I don't play spades.
Cara, and this is why we get along so well. She and I in our little PWI backgrounds from high school through. Absolutely.
That's a whole problem, Cara. That's a problem. They don't let you play. They just let you keep score. They throwing shade at you, boo.
I also come from a very, my grandfather was a pastor. Yeah. You didn't even have cards in the house.
Yeah.
Let alone play spades.
What?
I married different. I married a full-on spades player. Look, first time I saw Hennessy was after I got married.
You was late to Hennessy?
I was green.
Lord have mercy. Let's see. Our sister Michelle says, I got put out someone's house because I didn't know how to play and had the nerve to come during card night. Let me find out you just crashed somebody's house. Miss Michelle, what you doing? Oh my goodness. And let me see. John Jr. says black folks really hate when you can't play spades. He said it so simply.
It's very true.
He said it, but it was simple. He was like, they don't like you. They don't like you. Ain't I Steppin?
Certain things in the black community.
I'm gonna need you to,
and that's one.
I'm gonna need you to know how to
play spades.
Give us the final word on the femininity.
I'll say it this way: Arthur Charisma and Latrell both nailed it. One, folks will follow anything, right? And that's why it's often important for us to have these kinds of conversations. And two, it's exactly why people have mental health issues. It's exactly why you have a beautiful beauty queen. Trigger warning. committing suicide in New York City over the weekend. You know, it's because we come up with this one version of what everything is meant to be. And if you don't walk in that space, then you're excluded. And I'm here to tell you that femininity, like masculinity, it looks like a lot of different things. It looks like whoever you are walking in your feminine or masculine. And it looks like the thing that you're using to not only attract the person that you're interested in, not the person I'm interested in, but also the thing that emanates from you naturally. So just be you. Listen, if I get around, you get around Steph B, at the end of the day, I just want to spend time with you, not what the coach told you to be. And that's it.
You know, have Steppin Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy Net Radio. All right, so we normally, the way the show has been going the last few months, we've been having fun in the first segment, and then, you know, kind of getting serious later on. This segment, talking about the femininity, for me was a bit of a hybrid. It was a little bit of the best of the both worlds. We're going to get serious again after this next topic, but this topic, I want to have a little fun with y'all, right? So if you are watching the show right now on the live feed, just look at the bottom of the scroll. You see it scrolling across the bottom. You know, you see it. I'm gonna ask Steph the question. She knows what the question is. She may not know I'm gonna ask her now, but I asked her earlier, and so I guess I just tipped my hand. So I'm gonna ask you this question.
I forgot about it.
Okay, that's even better. That's even better because, you know, I asked this question. I got this question like when you have Facebook and you get on this day, and on this day you see all of the shit you used to say that you don't believe in no more. And you see all the people that you used to rock with that you don't rock with no more. Yeah. You know, I see stuff, you know, I got a Facebook page in October of 2008 because I had a high school reunion that I was going to. And the only way that you got access to the details was to get a Facebook. I was into MySpace at the time. I didn't want to do no Facebook. Here we are 13 and a half years later. And it's like we're broadcasting to you right now on Facebook. So it's just what it is. So on this day back in 2014, 15, whatever year it was, on this show, Ain't No Ask Steppin Marcus J, we asked this question. So we're going to ask it tonight because I ain't know you in 2014 and 15. And some of the listeners may not have known us either. We'll ask the question. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. You've been kidnapped, Steph. You've been kidnapped. Latrell, Sue,
Abducted.
John, Damon, Tammy, Shayna,
people we love,
people who are
Cara.
listening and rocking, Cara, everybody, right? You have been kidnapped, and I want you to respond. We're having fun.
Put it in the thread.
Put it in the thread, right? You have been kidnapped. You can call on a character or crew from one TV show to make the rescue for you. One TV show.
Yeah.
To make the rescue for you. What's the show? Who's the principal? Meaning, if it's the crew, who's the main person?
Yeah.
And why? Now, I'm not going to be so rigid to say just one. If you want to say one or two, three, whatever, no more than three.
No more than
one or two, no more than three. Damon has led it off with a very good one and said, if you've got a problem, if you need some help, you got to call the A-Team. Come on, man. Yeah. Yeah. B.A. Baracus, the coolest, dopest cat on town, but he's scared of airplanes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
Yeah, he was
They
scared
had
of
to knock
airplanes.
him out.
Now, Sue, I love what you just said.
Did Sue just?
Yeah, she said Athena.
Athena.
Angela Bassett's
You know
character
Sue?
from
Let me-
911.
Sue,
Do you watch
I
911?
love 911, and I've
do you
been
love
looking for
Athena?
somebody who loves it as much as Athena.
Found
okay.
her. Found her.
Athena's
Found her.
going in with nobody.
So let's see. We say Athena. Cara said Scooby Doo.
They always
Scooby
figure
and
out who
Shaggy.
did it.
Yeah, and they would get away with it if it wasn't for them damn kids.
Cara would like somebody that's chilled out.
Yeah.
Coming to show up a little weeded, like,
Yeah.
let me help
I'm
you.
gonna be
She ain't
honest
gonna
with
be
you.
too much pressure
It wasn't
on
until
you.
I became a pothead in my 40s that I
That you
understood
got it?
Scooby Doo. Yeah, I totally didn't get it. I totally didn't get Scooby Doo until I was in my 40s.
I gotta be honest.
Scooby Snacks.
Until my 40s,
They
I
was
didn't
always
know
hungry.
that that's what it was.
Yeah, would it got
I
away
just
with it.
thought they were lazy and scared.
Okay, Cara said alternative answer, Black Dynamite.
Hey,
Yeah.
he'll show up
And
in
off the charisma, yes, absolutely movies count. She says, do movies count? And if so, Her answer is The Equalizer. I'm guessing that's the Denzel version
The
because she's
Denzel,
asking
not the
about
Queen
movies
Latifah version
and whatnot.
Okay.
You know, the Queen Latifah version, the
Funny
TV
that she
show
would
is
say
good,
that.
but it's so freaking hokey. It's hokey, man.
It's
Like
funny
she rolled
was,
up on some thugs and she made a finger, and her homegirl was behind her with a gun.
with a gun and bow.
The
Asian girl was
it's too
there.
much. It's too much.
Come on, I gotta support the Queen.
Oh, I love the show.
I love the show,
but that was a lot. Latrell says The Transporter. If I'm not mistaken, is that the
that's
Statham?
Jason Statham.
That's the Jason Statham.
Yes.
And Carver's saying if you've never seen Black Dynamite, you need to go and watch.
Black Dynamite's good. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I would go with first of all, I love that Latrell said Athena, because Angela Bassett,
that was Sue.
She no joke. Sue said that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She no joke. But I'm gonna go with Tommy from Power and anybody he decides to bring along. And I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why. I need somebody that doesn't care. That's like, yo, I came for this one thing.
Tommy don't care.
I came to get Steph B. I don't care who I blow up in the process.
And I'm gonna tell you this one thing about Tommy, right? If Tommy love you,
oh, you win.
If Tommy loves you,
why you think Tommy's so mad with
Tariq?
Tariq.
Oh, you talking about Tasha?
With Tasha.
Yeah,
that was
because she betrayed
girl.
He loved her. He loved
her. He loved her more than he loved Ghost.
He loved Tasha more than he loved Ghost.
So I'm calling somebody like Tommy. The other thing I know about him, anybody who comes along for the job, they're scared enough of him that they're gonna perform.
That's true.
So I need a man with muscle power at that point.
And, John Jr. asked earlier, earlier in the show, and he posted it. And
Tommy's show about to be lit. Ain't lying.
I didn't comment on it because we weren't talking about power. We're still not. But I will say this, John Jr., just in to honor you, and I know that you made the comment. He said last night's power was lit. And he was right. Last night's power
I didn't watch
was
last
lit.
Night's power. I can't even
and
get
so
into
I'm not,
it yet.
We're not gonna get into a power conversation. But if you watch,
Can I say one thing about power?
Absolutely.
The mom.
You said Tommy. You brought it up.
The mom in me struggles with Tariq's current situation.
You talking about with Tasha being away?
With Tasha being away and everybody treating her baby like he's a grown man because he's done grown man stuff.
Yeah.
And the mom in me had a moment where I was like, oh, this is what moms with terrible sons feel like. Like that's still my baby.
Yeah.
And I'm watching like he's having to navigate all these adults who are grimy
but
too.
He's smarter than all of them.
He is smarter than them, but you know what it is? What's helping him? He's learned enough about the streets and he spent enough time reading about philosophers and thinking things through and getting to a point of how do I make it through this? But watching it as a mom, I'm like, damn, Tasha, come back for your boy.
All right, well, then since you made one comment about power, I'll make one comment about power. I'm going to reserve my comment to Mary J. Blige / Monet Tejada. And here's what I would say.
Love her.
I fell in love with Mary J. Blige 30 years ago this summer coming up. I've always loved her. There's never been a part of my life when I didn't love her. Power only made me love her more for two reasons. One, it's absolutely fascinating to watch someone who you feel in your whole soul is a terrible actress absolutely kill the role.
Sir,
she absolutely,
me. That's a fist bump if y'all not watching.
And I'm not saying she's a bad actress overall. I think she's terrible in this role, but it's like a bad circle.
You think she's terrible?
I think it's so bad that it circles back to good. It's almost like when you so mad. It's like when you mad, you cry. It's confusing you because like I think the lack of emotion that you see in her is disarming.
I think that's real though.
She is so outrageously mean to her daughter that it pissed me off to the point where it's just like, come on. So that when last week happened, I'm not into spoiling, but last week was last week, not last night. So if you didn't see last week,
when she had that moment with Diana,
I read an article. Latoya Tenodio, who plays Diana, said she didn't know. The only person who knew was Woody McClain, who played Kane, and the director. They were the only ones who knew that Mary J. Blige about to come across that table. So when you looked at, Diana and her fear was real because she didn't know that was happening.
Okay.
Because I remember looking at her face and being as scared as she was, like, girl, she about to kill you.
But I think right there, that thing about Mary First of all, so if you're a woman, you know, or have come across a woman who handles everything like it is what it is. If you've been in especially in an urban space, you think about Mary, where she's naturally from in the city. I think she comes across like what you have to be the wife of a kingpin. There is not a whole lot of empathy and love. And then to feel betrayed. I'll say this. I remember at one point thinking, you know what? You got to be down with me if you're my daughter. Now, I have a daughter. I want her down with me. Don't side with nobody. You're my ride. You're my ride or die.
Y'all going through each other's stuff though, for real?
They both did
Y'all
it.
going through each other's stuff?
No, we're not.
That's
my
a lot.
princess is a princess. I don't do that to her.
They don't have Steppin Marcus J live from New Den Legacy and that radio. Damon said the Fast and Furious crew. Mine is Tyrese.
You ain't lying. Tyrese will be at Femininity
Yeah,
coaching, telling women what to do.
He don't like Tyrese. Let's see. John says, well, he said Regina King would have been better, Monet. You know, back to my point, I think Mary J. Blige's killing it, even though I don't think she's that great of an actress. I think the line of the whole show, and then we're gonna move on, because I don't want to do this thing about power, because I won't get out of it.
Right, and then it might spoil something for me.
Well, no, I'm not gonna spoil nothing, because I'm talking about last week.
Working.
I said last week when she said, and ladies, you know, I was, you know, we often as dudes will tell y'all certain things as our sisters, those of y'all who are personal to us, and kind of let you in on some game.
I love when I'm in that circle.
Yeah, we're gonna let you in on some game because we love you and we ain't gonna let no other dude take advantage of you while we over here taking advantage of his sister. Right? Figure that one out.
Say it again.
Yeah, figure that one out. You know, but I think where the writers gave the sisters and the brothers some game, when Mary J's character Monet looked that woman in the eye and said, as long as he can come to you, he'll never need me.
He'll never need me.
He'll never need me. Now that was on some mother to love interest stuff, but it don't have to be. That was a woman to woman moment.
That was a woman to woman, and it was a woman.
And you saw what happened to the other woman, right?
which I was watching it with somebody, and they said, damn, Monet did that. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think Monet did that.
I don't think Monet did that.
She was there telling you everything I've built is ruined. And people get to that space. You know, that comes back to what we hold valuable, right?
Yeah.
When you are holding your position in the eyes of society valuable, it's real easy to feel down and out when they no longer see you as valuable. That's why you can't place, you know, going back to the femininity thing, you can't place your value in the hands of other people.
No.
Because her big thing was, everybody knows I did this, I'm ruined, so on and so forth. But when Monet approached her and looked at her and said that, I felt that.
Yeah, I mean, as a man, I felt that, because as a man, I represent the object of that conversation.
Absolutely.
And so as the object of that conversation, any woman that's close to me that feels the need to say that to another woman, like, what have I done to create that situation?
Yeah.
And that kind of stress, you know, unless she's a crazy chick, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, she ain't no joke. I will say one last thing about it as we move off of it. The fashion and power kills the game.
Oh, yeah.
While I'm watching it, I'm constantly Googling where to get. And then, of course, I remember what I'm trying to build. So I shouldn't be out here buying a $4,000 shawl.
Yeah.
But still,
but
it's dope to see. It's dope to see how much they put into every element of it. Like Monet dresses the way the girl back in Brooklyn dresses when she's balling, you know, and you see Diana pushing the envelope, trying to be a little more grown up in her aesthetic. But then the fellas really come through.
I don't see me on Power. I did see me, but I got shot in the chest by my son. I saw me in Ghost. I saw me in Ghost. I don't see me in any other character. He was the only character on the show.
Ghost had a level of
that
empathy.
I saw me in Ghost. You know, because Ghost went too far. Like, he went way too far. Like, if Ghost had turned left instead of turning right at whatever that moment was, then Ghost could have been on top of the world.
Yeah. I think Ghost also, and what kind of would remind me of your personality type, is he prioritized how he felt about people as opposed to how people are behaving. And to be in a world like that, and that, you know, we say a world like that, but you could be in a a corporate American space, you can be walking through this world as a Black person. And when you start to turn off your blinders to who people really are and focus purely on how you feel about people, it's dangerous.
But all of that cost him his son,
All
which
of
is the
it.
reason why his son killed him. Because through all of his feeling, trying to feel, he could never connect with his son.
No.
You know, so
No.
that's the reason why.
And sometimes you got to follow people where they're going.
Yeah.
Right? Your son's going down that path. I hate to say it, but y'all are a criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
It probably made more sense just to pull him in and keep him up under your wing, but you let two other dudes come in there and do your work.
You mean like they do on Ozark?
Yes.
My other shows.
Yes, my show.
I just discovered Ozark.
Okay,
so you
I'm
can't tell
early
me that.
in.
I'm early in. How early are you?
I'm season 2.
I'm season 2. We need to talk offline.
Y'all, we so nerdy. We blurty.
Such a geek,
the Black
man.
nerds.
Such a geek. Such a geek. All right. For those of y'all that's watching Ozark, if you watch Ozark, right? Those of y'all that's already at the end of season 4,
at us.
like I'm sorry. I'm gonna need you to not tell me nothing. But for those of you who are around the midway of season 2, come on. Ain't nobody tell me about Marty Bird.
Whoa.
Come on.
Listen, the first episode, you're like, really? That's what we
Marty,
doing?
Yeah, Marty Bird. Okay, Marty Bird, like for real. Whew. Okay, ain't change the subject because hey, look, I watched 3 episodes of Ozark today.
See, it makes you do that.
I'm not a binger.
You know what else?
I'm not a binger.
Oh, and you
I'm
did
not.
3
Not
today?
only I'm not a binger. I started Ozark last Monday, a week ago
and you
today,
on season 2,
and I'm on season 2,
so
episode 8.
You're officially a binger.
I'm a binger. I'm a binger. But we're gonna talk about
the other thing I do love about it, and we'll get off of it. I love how it's shot. I love the monochromatics, the sepias, the deep blue. I like things that are shot that way.
I think I what I like about it is the nature. I like the water. I like the forest. I like the woods. I like the fact that they're out there in the nature. It's set on a lake. Like I like those things about it.
It's filmed in the town that they're talking
about. Yeah. Ozark, watch it and then holler at me, but don't tell me nothing.
Don't
past
mention anything.
season 2, episode 8. And hashtag Marcus J. Yeah, live from New Day Legacy and Array. All right, so let me tell y'all who's coming to get me. Right, the question was, you've been kidnapped. You can call on a character or a couple characters from one show or multiple, up to 3. For me, I could, I'm a TV junkie, so I could name a bunch of shows if I wanted to, but not going to. I'm going to name one person and what crew he come from. His name is Jack Bauer, and he works for CTU, and this is the TV show 24.
Okay.
Come on, man.
I mean,
come on, man. Who's
I
better
don't know
than
how
Kiefer?
we overlooked that.
Who's better than Kiefer?
I mean, except Liam Neeson.
Nah, I'd rather Kiefer.
Really?
Yeah.
Liam got another movie coming out where he's saving
another
people.
way he's saving
it's all
people.
I've
got a special
same
set
character
of skills.
over and over, but I like.
I will find you, and I will kill you. Like,
see,
he got a cooler line than Jack Bauer.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
but Jack Bauer.
But Jack Bauer had all the toys.
Man, I seen
and the
Jack Bauer kill somebody with a battery. Like, yeah, that dude is resourceful. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from New Day. I see if we got any questions and stuff. All right, so Cara says, I fell off season 1. Girl, you need to go back. Girl,
back. It slowed down a little bit, but then it picked right back up.
Long. She gets a long girl. Girl, you get a long girl. Long. Girl, you need to. Yeah, ain't no hashtag Marcus J. All right. John says, shout out to Mecca and Lorenzo for holding it down for baldy beard combos.
Yes. Look, the person I was watching it with said, "Yo, is that the same person?
That's the look.
Is that the same
that's
guy?"
the look.
Nah,
hey,
look,
you nailed it, John. You nailed it. Damon says, Jack motherfucking Bauer.
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
My only other person, this is weird, would be Sydney from Alias. I watched every season of Alias, and then I rewatched.
Who's the actor that played this character?
Jennifer Garner.
Oh, Jennifer Garner. Yeah.
She was a killer in Alias.
That's
college student that goes undercover as a CIA agent.
I always liked her. She was pretty. Let's see. Author Charisma says, "Me too, Cara." And Cara says she fell off in season 1, so we lost them.
We got to bring them back.
We need to get them back. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. All right, so you ready to talk about something else? Get into the quiet parts of Out Loud.
Yeah.
You sent me a note about that, and I don't want to introduce it. You sent me more. You sent me a couple of notes on that, but that one I want you to bring out, and I want to talk a little bit about what you mean, so that we can see what it means for all of us. Because that one intrigued me when I saw that. What are we not talking about?
Yeah.
What are we not saying?
So recently, this weekend, former President Trump, he issued a statement that basically was like, that admitted, I wanted Pence to overturn the election on January 6th. If he couldn't do it, then why this? And he should have done it. So he basically said the quiet parts out loud, the part that everybody's been trying to deny, that they've been refusing to come before the committee about. He said the quiet parts out loud. Right before that, one of the senators made a statement about Biden selecting a Black woman as the next member of SCOTUS, the next judge for the Supreme Court. And he basically said that it would just be an affirmative action pick. It would have no other value. That's basically what I was saying. We're doing this when there are plenty of qualified people out there, and here we are going to affirmative action. And what I've realized, and that a lot of us have been realizing, but maybe not really focused on it, is the last 4 years, the last 5 years now, since Trump became president, it has become very popular for people to say the quiet parts out loud. So people are admitting or confessing to things or saying out loud their beliefs and where they stand very comfortably. And I think it's important now for us to determine what we're going to do now that people are saying the quiet parts out loud. So when someone says, yeah, you want to get a Black woman, she's going to be underqualified and merely a affirmative action pick, or they start to say things like, where they're talking about the Black community the way they have over the last 4 years, and how they talk about Black Lives Matters and all these different things. When we hear that, I think it's important for us to now, one, acknowledge that they're saying what they've been thinking. They're just saying it out loud. And two, that what we are doing to change the narrative, or combat it or fight it, is not enough. Now that they're speaking out loud and basically saying, yeah, I hate the N-words, which is really what's happening, right? It's pretty much happening when they start to talk about our rights, when they start to talk about what we should expect. You have Black people saying, what's the big deal about voting rights? Black people can vote. And it's like, come on now. You know the difference between voting rights and suppression. You know the difference. And you know what suppression does. Now that people are saying all of that, marching can't be enough. Because now they're doing what they did when people were dying for this cause. They're saying it out loud. They're keeping us out of certain spaces. They're passing laws in order to impact us. That itself is an acknowledgement out loud that I want to minimize your voice, your vote, and everything else. Since we're now hearing these things and we're not sitting at home in our little private spaces, having conversations and saying, I think those folk are racist. Now we're actually hearing the vernacular. What's our responsibility? What do we do? What's the next part besides marching and praying?
Direct action. I think that we've been socialized to feel and act defeated. And when we see the how that plays out, it plays out in just kind of giving up, where we don't necessarily raise our children with the strong values that our previous generation had. We accept things that we shouldn't accept, and we act like those of us who call bullshit on it are being old fogies or some sort of problem. Like, pull your fucking pants up. Like, for real. Why would we accept that? Why do we walk around like it's normal to be walking around with your pants off your ass? You wearing extra pants underneath so that we can't see your personals, but just pull your pants up so we don't have no problem. You wearing 2 pairs of sweatpants under sagging pants. You look like a fool. Like, for real. And we don't care what white people think about that. This is a us conversation. We need to be checking that. That's just one thing. That's just one thing. That's just one thing. Like, why do our kids walk around strapped? Why do our kids feel like they need to walk around strapped? Why are our neighborhoods such that men are not there so that kids feel like they need to walk around strapped? When I was growing up, my neighborhood was scared of my father. I don't know if he knew that. He knows it now if he's listening. But when I grew up, my neighborhood was scared of him. Why? Because he was a man. And he carried himself as such. My brother Damon is watching and listening right now. He can co-sign this because he came to that neighborhood and he's seen it. We are the children of that generation. And something happened with us Gen Xers that, I don't want to throw shade at my own generation, but if you look at the generation before us, the traditional generation and the baby boomers, right? How they raised us. They're the ones who came through the 60s with civil rights and the water hoses and the dogs and the civil rights era leaders being literally murdered by the United States government and them acting like, what I do? We didn't kill nobody. What? Like, fuck, you know what you did. That's about 5 fucks. That'll be my last one. But you know what you did, America. You know what you did. Is we walk around acting like we didn't see what just happened as a country, but as a community, we act fearful. Why? Because we got something to be scared of. We see what they're capable of. But how that manifests itself is how we, the men of this generation, did one of two things. We were either not present or we were soft on our boys. One or the other. We were either not present or we were soft on our boys. Now, our sisters would say that we're not present. And they would have a valid argument because a lot of us were not present. But for those of us who were, a lot of us was afraid to see what happened to our children that happened to our fathers. So we didn't raise them the way that maybe we should have. And so the value system is different. They don't value the women the way that we did or the way that our parents did. You can just look at our grandparents and see how they treated them. Now, there was some generational stuff that we need to deal with.
For sure.
And I'm not making it seem like it was perfect, but they wasn't calling them bitches and hoes. And I'm not somebody who's going to act like I didn't grow up and didn't know every single word that Just Don't Bite It and she swallowed it. Because I did. I know. I'm not going to be a hypocrite here, but I'm also damn near 50 and I learned. And a lot of us have not learned. And because we have not learned, we cannot teach our children. And so the accountability thing becomes a problem. Why? How are you going to be accountable if you haven't been taught? How are you going to know how to act if ain't nobody taught you how to act? You're supposed to just know off of instinct? Right or wrong to me is inherent. So you should know you don't need to be killing people. Don't take shit that don't belong to you. There's certain things that should be inherent, but how you treat people and how you conduct yourself, a lot of those things have been left to nonsense. Have been left to people who don't know to teach the people who don't know.
Right.
That's how you got people walking around justifying saying the N-word and talking to me like it's something wrong with me for scoffing at it. I scoff every time I hear that word. Why? Because it's not okay to say it to me. It's just not. To me, it's my value. Why? Because authenticity has no competition. That's me. And I say we need to not be saying that. We need to not be acting a certain kind of way. And we know better because when people like me say something, the first thing you want to do is argue with me. You want to hold firm on bullshit. I'm tired of playing this game. This is where we need to talk about what we ain't talking about. Fathers, what you doing, man? You ain't got to be with her. We know you don't like her. She don't like you either.
Right.
Take care of your kids, man.
Right.
Take care of your kids and quit worrying about how she acting. Sisters, quit making it hard for him. We know you don't like him. We know he did some stuff that upset you. Don't make it hard for him to see his kids.
Change your focus.
That ain't got nothing to do with you. That's his kid. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be accountable for our own stuff. Ain't nothing that I talked about got nothing to do with white people who we like to blame all our problems on. It's a lot of shit we go through that's got direct you can draw a straight line from how white folks acted and treated us to some of the shit we go through.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some of the things we do
and we don't need to be arguing about that amongst ourselves. If you find a white person that wants to argue with you about that, that's not an ally. Walk away. because anybody who has lived in this country at any stage of their life can see that white supremacy has fucked up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And for those white allies who know better, do better. Get your peoples. Get your peoples.
Yeah, gather
but we not talking about them. We talking about us. And so if we can tell them, get your peoples, we need to be telling each other, get your peoples, man. You making it hard for all of us walking around looking a mess with your pants sagging, thinking it's cool. Thinking that it's okay to put value on the lowest scourge of our communities. Come on, man.
Wow.
Really? That's what you putting value on? You putting value on disparaging your mama. Because every time you call your sister a bitch, that's what you're doing. You disparaging your mama, who you claim to love so much. Every single man, and I'll say black man because I am one. Every single black man got at least one woman that he don't play about. He don't play about his mama. He don't play about his grandmama.
Mama.
He don't play about his auntie. He don't play about his baby mama. He don't play about his wife. He don't play about his daughter. Every single man got at least one. He don't play about her. How about you apply that logic to all of the sisters, bruh? Come on, because they ain't all the scourge. Just like you don't think you the scourge. So you can make the change in you. Don't be worrying about what everybody else is doing. You bring your brothers along. You bring your brothers along, they'll bring their brothers along. That's how you grab a hold of your men in your community and you raise them as men today. Because apparently your daddy ain't do it. This is how you raise your brother. When you decide too much, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not doing this no more. I'm tired of seeing my mama cry. I'm tired of seeing my grandma cry. Auntie, baby mama, wife, daughter, whoever she is. Because every man got that she. He ain't got to be sleeping with her. He may have came from her. But every man got that she who he don't play about. If you apply how you treat her to how you treat all of the other sisters, even if she don't deserve it in your estimation, this is how you bring your community along. Because it ain't about you no more.
I like and I did, I certainly have thought about it from a lot of different perspectives. Now that they are saying the quiet parts out loud, making it very clear that this is our perception of you, your communities, and who you are, which also says, and this is what you're going to get from us while you walk in the space with us. I like that you stepped in there and made it about total accountability within the community. And one of the reasons I like that, now, I don't ascribe to some of the things that are about respectability, because Jethro can walk in with 3 teeth and white folk don't know how to respect him. Right? Although a lot of times they're going to hide Jethro because they don't want to be associated with it. But what I do think is important is that in order to combat a lot of the quiet parts being said out loud, we have to have an ability to pull together as a village. And we just don't have it right now. We have the capability, but we're not going to employ it and turn it into ability. It exists. The potential is there, but we're not going to turn it into power. Because to your point, there's a lot of different things. One, everybody's competing over what they think is the same patch of grass. Right? Or two, we haven't learned enough. So you're really speaking truth to power there. I do think that if we don't get it together, we're going to keep getting repetition of exactly what's been happening. No matter how nasty, divisive, anti-Black, anti-humanity some of the policies are, even some of the policies that are recently being enacted here in our VA in Virginia. No matter how divisive those things are, if we as a community are not able to see eye to eye on the basics of how we engage with one another, we can't take the fight anywhere else. It's next to impossible to take the fight anywhere else. But I think it's important to say they're speaking the quiet parts out loud. You now know what they think of our communities. It's not necessary to sit there and try to change their minds. What's necessary is us pulling together to put ourselves in a space of where no matter what they think, they can't come against our collective power. And collective power is something that the other side has understood for quite some time. I think I mentioned it when we were here last, and I was watching a documentary called The Donut King. And I like documentaries. I like hearing about how people have arrived at their thought process or where they are. And within it, the man that had built this entire community of Vietnamese donut makers in LA, to the point of where he is wealthy and being called in as a political donor on many campaigns. He's been wealthy since Carter. He literally said, I do not invest in anybody that's not Vietnamese. I don't do, and there was no explanation after it. I give money to start businesses to the Vietnamese community. Period. Point blank. Nothing left. Not going to explain myself. Not going to apologize for that. It is what it is. Until we can get to a point of where we see the value so intrinsically within our community, even beyond the what are we wearing, but the what are we thinking, what's in our heads, not what's on it. Until we get there, they can keep saying the quiet parts out loud. They're entitled. They already are privileged enough to do it. They are sitting back, controlling media, and putting out the narrative that, hey, exactly what we said about them is true. And instead of us saying we need to prove them wrong, we should be saying, let's put together our collective power so that what they think doesn't even matter. Next to impossible with where we are right now.
No, because we care. See, I used to say this on the show a lot, not so much in recent years, but doesn't mean I haven't felt this way. The average black person is afraid of white people.
Absolutely.
And not only are afraid of white people, afraid of upsetting them. And we don't
and
like
the
to
results, what comes from it.
We don't like to hear that. That I ain't nobody scared of nobody. Like
lies.
You do. Because every time you talk about white people, you say white people. You whisper it.
Oh man.
And I used to get
there's
mad.
Somebody I wish was listening that would agree with that.
Man, that was one of the things that I never allowed on the show, because we don't run from a race conversation. We speak it clearly. I lead that, because the white people who thought that I was the safe black friend, they found out when I started doing radio that that's just not the case.
No.
I'm authentic no matter who I'm talking to. I don't change my rhetoric. I learned when I was in my 20s to not code switch, because don't nobody care about you no more anyway. So why you code switching? It doesn't matter, right? So black folks, quit being scared of white folks. Quit whispering white people. Just say that shit.
Because they're not whispering when
they're not whispering when they say black people.
They're not even doing it on TV. I mean, really legitimately, and I know we may talk about this at some point, but when I hear someone say that, first of all, to even be considered as a black woman to a position like that, you already know she's outperforming the average.
She's not here unless she's better than everybody.
There's just no way.
She's better than everybody, so now she gets to be considered.
Now she gets to be here. She doesn't get to be
now she gets to be considered.
And even in that consideration, she gets to be doubted.
She's a woman and she's black.
She's a woman and she's black. And to hear someone say, well, him doing that, it's a sign of affirmative action. No, it's a sign that finally a very qualified part of the population who is more educated than the rest of the population and consistently building on that statistic is being considered. You mean to tell me 230 years of the Supreme Court and there was never a qualified black woman?
Never
once.
You mean to tell me out of 115 Supreme Court justices, less than 10 were not black or white men? Less than 10 were not white men.
And only 3 were?
2 were black men.
3 were minorities, and one is a Latina.
2 was black men with Clarence Thomas and Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
And then you had Sotomayor.
You have Sotomayor.
And yes. I think she's the Latino.
Yeah, she's Latina.
And that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
115
people and only 3.
Come on, man. The black woman is smarter than everybody anyway. I'm not putting you over. I'm not saying this because I need to. I don't say nothing no more. Trust me. The older I get, the less our people please.
Listen, if you were saying things to please people, you wouldn't have said
the
that.
Older I get,
nobody wants to hear that.
The older I get, the less I'm interested in people pleasing. I'm gonna say what needs to get said. The black woman is the smartest being on the planet. She birthed the whole world, and she puts up with more shit than anybody. Because
by necessity.
We come home mad because we had to deal with white supremacy. Never mind that she been dealing with it as much as we have. But as a man, we feel like we got to come home and dump on our woman, which is what all men do, period. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Her day couldn't have been as tough. That's a belief.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's not
I'm
possible.
out here as a man. You don't understand.
It's not possible.
Maybe
you
I
know,
don't.
and it might be some brothers mad at me. I don't know. Come for me on the show. 804-402-2893 is the number that I never get calls. Even though when I solicit them, when I say something controversial and I say, call me, let's talk about it, I never get a call.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not listening. That just means they're not calling.
Right.
But call me.
You'll
and
hear
tell
about
me
it later.
At 804-402-2893. Call me up on this show right now and tell me how the black woman is not the most stressed out being on this planet. Tell me why I'm wrong, and tell me why I'm just kissing those sister's ass when I say that. Show me.
Go ahead.
Let me get some comments in, and then I'll get back to 804-402-2893. I get frustrated on that because it's so clear to me. But brothers will either argue with you or not say nothing, and silence is golden here. Cara says, I want every man I encounter to not play about me, negotiating disrespect, negating. I'm sorry. Negating disrespect is a must. The disrespect isn't always the worst case scenario. Include your microaggression, man. Lathrell says,
yes, Carter.
When I said black folks are scared of white people and how we act, she said, we've been trained to be that way. She's on to something, obviously, when she says that, and so I can agree.
But we've experienced it. I've been told in a corporate space, speak up, say what you're thinking. We want your opinions. And when your opinions don't match what they feel you should think or what they've been thinking for you, then you get different results. So often we black people get to a point of where we're consistently playing the game. We don't just code switch verbally. We code switch behaviorally. Things that we would not tolerate, we will allow because we're not sure of the outcome. We are not in a power position. There's lots of things. We don't know what to do next if we buck the system, so to speak.
Reynaldo says, black people have been conditioned to accept, look out for, and ride with every other group except for our own.
Truth.
Lathrell says, it happens in education all of the time. The whispering.
I'm sure she hears it like the black students.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is a teacher, an educator.
Okay.
She's not in the classroom anymore, but she's an educator. And so I see it through her. We talk, and she shares with me a lot of the things that we're talking about in practice. Now, I don't bring that up a lot. I don't bring that up a lot, but I live with a teacher.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I am uniquely qualified to be able to talk about the racism that is in our schools and how they don't expect our children to perform, and they put obstacles in place to keep it so that they don't perform.
And they immediately negate the value of the children based on what they think of the parents and the generations prior. Immediately.
But then we come in there with our pants sagging and our head and rollers in our head looking a hot mess. So we need to own our shit.
I don't disagree.
We need to own our shit.
But I disagree.
Let's talk about that because we don't disagree often. I look forward to being able to be in a nice debate with you on this because we talked about in this segment before we got here, we talked about owning our shit.
We did.
We talked about pulling up your pants. You can't go to the kid's school and think that you're going to question the teacher who checked your kid when you got your pants sagging
or
and
you
look
wearing a bonnet
and you don't show up looking professional enough to be able to deal with a serious situation. You don't get to do that in your pajamas. You don't get to do that in your pajamas. You don't get to come to the school
in a bonnet
and expect that you're going to have some credibility. Well, I'm the mother or I'm the father. I'm supposed to. No.
And look at Lathrell's statement.
There's a social construct in smelling like weed. Eyes red. When I smell like weed and my eyes are red, I'm at home.
Conducting no business.
I'm at home.
You should be.
I don't even come here that way. And it's my shit.
True.
You know what I mean? So there's a certain way that you need to conduct yourself where you don't get to blame other people for your circumstance.
I don't
And
disagree.
you need to conduct yourself with a certain level of professionalism, decorum that is worthy of your child.
You're making it very hard for me right now.
I'm trying to. This
You
is
don't
by
want me to
design.
have an easy argument.
This is by
here.
design. This is your child. It is your child. And while, as I said, you got a right to be you and how you move, I said that. Authenticity. If you authentically sagging your pants wearing a bonnet at your kid's school, then you need to authentically identify that the people that you're going to be dealing with is going to roll their eyes at you and treat your kid funny. Period.
I can't disagree with that. And I say this often when I'm in a consulting space, because I'll get new business owners or small business owners who are struggling to grow. And I'll say, well, I noticed you're doing X and you probably should be doing this, or have you considered? And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten, I'm going to be who I'm going to be. I didn't start this business to run behind what everybody else wanted me to do and what they wanted in corporate America. And I don't disagree. I just say you got to be prepared to get the results that you came in here working for. So if your result is I want to be successful as a business owner or what have you, then there are certain norms that just kind of follow along with that just set the foundation for it. So I guess in that degree, I can agree with you. I can agree that there are fundamentals and there are norms and there are generally accepted behaviors in different spaces. And I don't disagree with you that, Latrell's saying it here. Some of the kids are embarrassed of the parents. You can see it on some of the kids' faces. It's sad. I don't disagree with that either. I do believe that when you're going into a space to negotiate an argument or to navigate something sticky, that you should be taking time to do that in a way and present in a way where you're going to be taken seriously. I didn't have children that really required a lot of up and down to the school, but I was the kind of Black mom that shows up for things that I think certain people don't expect the Black mom to show up for. I show up for microaggressions, right? So a microaggressive statement was made by a theater or show choir teacher against my daughter. And they gave her a superlative. At the end of the year, they give you your best this, best that. They gave her a superlative that was a backhanded compliment. And so they got an understanding that Steph B is not to be played with. And when I showed up, not only did I showed up so hard that NBC 12 was calling me. I showed up so hard that I had Black women from my feminist community, doctors, Harvard professors, emailing the school. And I'm telling them, put it in writing. I want my apology in writing. And I didn't care what anybody else said. I didn't care that anybody else thought I shouldn't be fighting for my daughter. What they did know was I was not to be played with because I showed up on point for the benefit of my daughter. Now, the other hand of that is, while I do look at our parents, and I agree with you that when you're on the clock as mom, as dad, you're not punching the clock in corporate America. You're supposed to go up there and talk to these people about your child and get results. You should go up there looking like you mean business. And if you show up in your bonnet, the likelihood is that fair or unfair, at this point, you got to stop thinking fair or unfair. Fair or unfair, they're going to roll you into their perspective and perception of who we are. All the quiet parts they're now saying out loud, they don't even have to feel bad about. Now they can say, this is what Trump was talking about. Look how they present themselves. Look at this. They look like they come from shithole communities. Things like that. You shouldn't allow that to get in the way of you taking care of your children. Making a point. Where I have the argument is, the very flip side of that is that they weren't respecting us when we had on suits and ties. Martin was shot in one. Malcolm was killed in one. They were trying very hard to identify all of Martin's untenable parts as a man, all of his flaws, his peccadillos and poor behaviors behind the scenes. They're always going to dig deep. Obama was in a tan suit and they had a problem with him. So there's almost this element of me that's like, they're never going to accept us. There is, I would be considered safe. Because outside of this is not the kind of conversations I'm having doing business or, on the hustle. Well, Hustler's Hot maybe, but when I'm
The
doing
what?
Hustler's Hot,
What's that?
where business and culture collide. When we talk business and we talk culture, it's CNBC with swag. Tune in 105.3 every Friday.
Oh yeah,
RVA.
yeah.
But so it's like, are we fighting a fight that has no results by talking about pants sagging and things like that because suit, tie, this, that, and the other, they don't care? Or are we doing that to go ahead and bully up and get ourselves prepared for the argument and make ourselves presentable without really caring about them? I don't think it's possible. I think that's a code switch.
Yeah. I I get frustrated a lot of times with this conversation because I know that while we do the best that we can to represent, many of us represent ourselves and our community, there's an old saying, right? Well, you call a black doctor a nigga. That's what you call him. I don't use the word, but I said it. But I said that for a reason, to make a point. What do you call a black doctor? You call a black lawyer.
A black police officer.
Black police officer. Like, what do you call them? And this is the reason why I don't like that we use that word for ourselves. This word is used to say and to create the most negative connotation for our people. And we think that it's okay to turn around and use it as a term of endearment. Like, it's the worst thing that you can call yourself. But I don't want to go down that path. And I never use the word, and I shouldn't say never, because I used it. I used it just now to make a point. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. You want to rock with us, we'll roll with y'all. Reynaldo says, in Marcus, there's an attack against black masculinity that starts with our boys as young as kindergarten. I'm not guessing at this. Is what I'm seeing at work daily. I'm a part of the elementary school administration team, and I respect you so much, and I appreciate you as a black man to be in that position. It shouldn't even be a thing for me to have to give you kudos, but it is a thing for me to have to give you kudos. So I'm going to thank you for that, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. You continue, schools hate parents who are really involved and won't let school step in on their child.
Agree.
They act like the parent is wrong for fighting for their child. 100%
when you advocate for your kid,
agree with that. Yeah. My big cousin Tony is checking us out. He simply says, cousin. Yeah. What's up, cuz? Peace to you, brother. For those folks who ain't used to hear me use that word, so be it. So bad. Hey, I'm going to shock you every time you come on here. I'm going to say something that you'll be like, oh, damn, why did you say that? Yes, I said that. Let's see.
That's that time out in the trees.
Yeah, man. In the woods, man. And it's the thing, right? I was watching Ozark, and there's an older character on there who is elderly, and he made a statement about the older you get, the more you become your authentic self.
Yes.
Because you no longer are interested in hiding who you are. It reminds me of the Paul Laurence Dunbar poem that I quote every once in a while on this show. It's called We Wear the Mask. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. We worry so much about what other people think about us that we do not authentically be ourselves. And I have learned this phrase. I'm gonna cuss one more time. This will be the last one. But I've learned this phrase. It is called "fuck them people." You have to employ that mentality sometimes.
All of them.
Because people will put you in their box, and they will want you to move how they want you to move. Maybe that's not how you want to move. And that includes people who feel like it's okay to sag their pants. Hey, look, man, do you? I'm going to have my opinion about that.
I mean,
if you want to look a hot mess and crazy as hell, include all of the shade that I'm throwing and making this point, then so be it. But I would prefer to deal with your authentic self than your fake you.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
Let's get some comments in, and then we're gonna move on. All right, so we've been talking so much, the comments go all the way back, but I've been putting them on the screen, so hopefully y'all know my heart. I'm slow, but y'all know my heart. Latrell says it happens in education all the time. And whispering, I already read that. Exactly, Steph. They only want you to speak if this what they want to hear. I just burped. I'm sorry.
That's that corporate America stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it funky. Smelling like weed. See, the parents look like they roll out of bed loud and sounding ignorant. Some of the kids are embarrassed. Their parents, you can see it in some of their faces. I can dig it. Charisma says a lot of folks, especially younger people, have not been taught how to be chameleons, being able to change according to the environment. Once again, you got one of the comments of the night, because again, you're not being taught.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Education is everything when it comes to the community, right? I mean, you talk about it from a perspective of you refer to your dad, you refer to the brotherhood that you built back in Jersey City, and that brotherhood, your father and your blood brother have become your circle as a man, right? They're people you can go back to. But we do, I think there's this other side of things where we're expecting a lot from people who have very little. And I'm not saying us as an entire community, but you meet certain young people and you know that they didn't get that initial training. And the downside is, you mentioned how, the block was afraid of Mr. J, right? That's not happening anymore. Now you have this bravado and this disrespect of seniority and the elders and the perspectives of those people. And you have parents that will come out and fight for their children in the wrong. I saw something on TV the other day. It was actually a young man was robbing a woman that was walking into a Target, I believe in Harlem. And he tried to snatch her purse. She was an older white woman. He snatched her purse off. She tried to hold on to it. So he dragged her down to the ground, took the purse or didn't take the purse, but he kept going. His mother saw the video on TV and turned him in. As she should.
As she should.
And that's one of the things about accountability. You can't teach your children how to carry themselves, how to move forward, how to move through this space. And I promise you, teaching them those things also will become the tools that they use to protect themselves when they're out there without you, when they have to walk into spaces where they're not generally accepted. I always say corporate America is one of those spaces where I experience being accepted but not welcome. I have to have you here because the rules say so.
But I don't rock with you.
But I don't rock with you. And I'm going to make your time here difficult because I don't really welcome you. We have to be able to put ourselves in a position of where we're holding our kids accountable. We're holding one another accountable. We're telling each other the truth. I'll hear people say things like, man, I don't make job referrals. I don't refer people to jobs. I don't get people hired where I am because, they might act up. And I'm like, well, do you tell them that? When they're job hunting and they're like, man, bro, I'm really looking. And do you look at them and say, man, I would refer you, but you've been late to your last 5 jobs. You got fired from the last 2. Going back to your original point, I can never argue with internal accountability because that's nothing that white people are responsible for. That's all us.
Yeah. I mean, another person's moral compass, you can't do nothing with it. Like you might think you know it, but you might find out the hard way that you don't. So you got to have prudence. If a person wishes to be a part of what you're a part of, be particularly careful not to recommend them unless you are convinced that they will conform to your ways,
and come through,
so that they will represent you appropriately.
Some people don't even, and that's the other thing. Tell them, because some people are asking you for a job referral or things like that, and they have no clue of what your expectations are.
They don't know how you move.
They don't know how you move. So you might want to say, listen, I'm willing. But let me tell you something. I don't care how frustrated you are. You got to see this through. Because if you quit on the spot or you decide it's not for you, it reflects on me in the space that I've been building my reputation. It's important, but we do not communicate with one another like that.
No. We spend so much time hating on each other, and that's frustrating for me, sis. It really is. Not just male, female, but male on male, female on female. Like when I hear sisters say, I ain't got no female friends. I can't have no sister.
I don't know about
I don't have no female friends. Like,
who you impressing?
I got my own challenges with the sisters, but they got their own challenges with me. So why not have grace? You know what I mean? It's easy to not have grace. It's easy to be negative and all of that kind of stuff. And that stuff comes natural, right? But to really show somebody grace and to really show somebody, be like, look, man, I know you're a little messed up. So am I. Let's do this next part together. Why can't we do that? We can't. We spend so much time in this negative space that I don't know, man. I get frustrated sometimes, and I wonder, you know, who are we going to really be? Like seriously, as a community, as a country, as a group of people. You know, we talk about evoking the aid of deity when we talking about the ancestors and what would the ancestors do and all that kind of stuff. Like it becomes a badge of honor. We want to talk about the ancestors. Oh, the ancestors. Like what would the ancestors
But we
say?
won't mimic them.
You know, the ancestors, you know, honestly, if we using common sense, the ancestors would say, man, you acting up, man. You know, pull your pants up. You know what I mean?
Do something with
be
yourself.
respectful to your women. Be respectful to your men. You know, like act like you want to be here. That's what the ancestors would say. Often, many of us represent them well, but many of us don't. And I think it's appropriate for us to call out the bullshit.
Yeah. That's something we don't want to say.
Hell no.
That some people do not represent or reflect
Hey,
their
look, man,
ancestry.
there are a
well.
lot of people.
Or maybe your
would be like,
ancestors was pimps and gangsters and hustlers and,
man, for
and
real,
you
for
know,
real.
and that's what you doing.
Real talk. Some of our ancestors wasn't shit. Just like some of us ain't shit.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And I think it's easier a lot of times to get into that spiritual conversation because we don't expect that we're gonna be challenged. But I mean, it's me. I'm Marcus J. I'm gonna challenge you. When I ask you, what do you mean by that? You evoking the aid of deity? Are you acting like it?
Come on now.
Like, what are we
Y'all
talking
ain't
about?
ready.
What are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? Do you think the ancestors are okay with you calling
what
your
you doing
sister?
right
You calling
now.
your sister out of name?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or sister, you being shady to old dude. Ancestors good
Or
with that?
or saying, I don't rock with my other sisters. I don't got no female friends.
You think the ancestors would say that?
Come on now.
Come on, man. You can look and you can see that the sisters, the ancestors, they relied on each other for life.
Yes.
To sustain.
Black women couldn't birth babies in hospitals. Who do you think was showing up? The community, the village. You know, that whole doula game that everybody's starting to get into right now, that's Black women doing that for centuries.
You already know.
You know, and you tell me you can't trust her or you don't have Black women friends. Let me tell you something. Being somebody that I've always valued relationships between other women. I love to see two sisters, blood sisters, and how when they engage the right way with one another, when they don't even move without one another. That to me is dope. And I always think about creating that same level of community in my own space. Because when I want to talk about certain things, brothers don't want to hear it, nor should you have to. Nor do I expect you to give me what I need in that moment. So when you say you negate, like I can't always give you what you need when there's a situation you want to talk about that has something to do with sisters. Your brothers need to hear you. Maybe what you want to say is too free for what I'm willing or capable of hearing in that moment. Maybe I can't disconnect from my womanhood enough to hear you out. Take that to your brothers. It's okay. You know, I'll say that even in relationships. You ain't gonna like me all the time. Go talk it out with your homeboy. But pick one that's not going to tell you, yeah, you need to get rid of her. She, cheat on her, blah, blah, blah. Silly stuff. Get you a mature one. I got mature friends in my crew. When it's time, when I'm acting up, I have people in my crew that will tell me, that sounds like a you moment.
Yeah.
That sounds like, and that's what having same gender friendships is about. Is this level of accountability, because only another woman can look at you and say, you knew that was gonna make him mad,
you
right?
You tripping.
You knew where you were going, and you
wrong,
could look
right?
and be like, yeah, I knew what I was doing.
You know you're wrong.
But if a brother is like, you knew you was making him mad, who are you talking to? Maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I'm not ready. And some days I am, some days I'm not. But there's never a day I'm not ready for my sisterhood. So I tell people right away, if you're one of those sisters, you don't make friends with other women, that's cool. Thanks for warning me up front.
That says a lot
you ain't
about
gotta
you.
Worry about
it says
me.
more about you than it says about her.
Exactly.
And you know how Steppin Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. Cousin Tony says it takes It's no longer. Let me see. It's no longer. It takes a village.
True.
You know.
Don't talk to my baby.
My cousin Selwyn is checking us out. He says, should have. Sue says, had a coworker who got her sister hired. Sister quit and didn't tell him.
Now, see, that's the kind of thing that I'm gonna give you the stink eye at Thanksgiving dinner.
Like for real?
Like,
That's
you
how
really
do
did
me?
that to me?
That's how you do me? Let's see. My brother, Jersey City. My brother, Keon. We call him Sug. My brother Sug is checking us out right now. He's saying peace, my brother. Peace to you and your family as well. Me and his brother went to high school together. We knew each other, a couple of 14-year-olds, rocking with each other at academic high school.
You keep your friends.
We call it McNair Academic High School because it is named now after Dr. Ronald McNair, who was on the Challenger in January of 1986 that went down.
Jersey City does it up. I drove past when I was there over Christmas. I drove past Maya Angelou Elementary.
Yeah.
That's dope.
What about the Bethune-Cookman Center?
Bethune-Cookman Center?
Yeah, Bethune-Cookman Center, right there on.
Up north,
we still call it Jackson Avenue, even though it's been called Martin Luther
that's
King
always
Drive
it.
since the 80s. But we still call it Jackson.
But you know what's so funny? I don't care where you go up north. Nobody's fighting over whether or not we're naming this Barack Obama Elementary.
Hell no.
We don't need
we just
you to pass a rule.
We fighting over Jeff Davis Highway, calling it Emancipation Highway or Richmond Highway.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
And all this other kind of stuff. We fighting over statues and that kind of stuff. Like
up there, they like we changed the name of the school. It is now Maya Angelou.
We got racism too, though.
Oh,
you know, we got it too. You know, I was talking in a conversation earlier on about gentrification. You know, and the question came up about gentrification here in Richmond, and I talked about how, you know, we bought our house, our family home that I grew up in 1980. We sold it in 2015 to a young white couple who flipped it and resold it. And when we saw it on Zillow or whatever where you see it, the house I grew up in does not look like how it looked. And when I go to Jersey City, I see Hasidic Jews walking through the hood.
Oh, it's all
and you know, Sacred Heart Heart Elementary School, which is right across the street from where the Israelite had the issue with the store
down the block from my uncle
2 years ago. Like, that's my neighborhood. That's where I grew up. You know, and to hear people talk about Hasidic Jews and to hear them talk about Israelites and all this kind of stuff in the middle class black neighborhood that I grew up in, you know, in the same neighborhood where we sold our house for this. And 5 years later, it sold for that. You know, we didn't talk about this tonight and we don't have time to, but gentrification is an issue, but it also becomes an issue when you sold the house.
Or you didn't pay your taxes on
Or you didn't pay your taxes. Like, don't sell grandma's house. Like, when she dies, keep the house. Let the grandkids get the house. Don't sell the house. So
turn it into an Airbnb
is an issue.
Create some revenue.
It's a big issue. Gentrification is an issue. But when you know better, you do better. And we talking about 2022. We're not talking about 1962. You know, redlining and all that kind of stuff. While I know it's a thing, it's not a thing like it used to be. Don't sell the house. Problem solved.
Easy.
There it is. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from New Den. Legacy in that radio. Sir continues. Hope all is well. We are well here, my brother. It's good to see you, and it's good to be able to bond and communicate with you. It's been many years since either one of us had said anything to each other. We used to connect in social media and stuff, but it's been a while. So just by virtue of you being here and you rocking with us tonight, I got love for you, brother. I appreciate you. 30 plus years of knowing you, and I appreciate you. He says, you see them walking with jewels and all 2 and 3 in the morning like they own the city. And that's some real stuff.
Oh, it is real. Jarring. When I was up there, it's shocking.
It's jarring for us. And that ain't no shade for that community. It's, this is our community. Why do you feel this comfortable walking through here? And what have we done to give you that comfort?
Or not done.
Because we can talk about gentrification. It's real. It's real. It's real. They come in here, they buying our property, they flipping it, they keep pushing us out. But guess what? Somebody got to sell it.
Somebody got to sell it.
They
didn't steal it.
They ain't steal it. Ain't no Steppin Marks yet. And I just remember being here and the hopeless feeling of seeing that play out on the national news, on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, BBC, all of them, and they showing the neighborhood that I grew up in. I used to go to Sacred Heart elementary school for their little parties that we used to have that started at 6 o'clock in the evening and ended at 9:30. You thought you was doing something when you was 12. You went to a Sacred Heart party. You know, for Jersey City people, you understand this more than anybody else. But if you went to a Sacred Heart party when you was 12,
you was in.
You did something. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and now that whole neighborhood ain't even us. That's the problem. And it's because of us, partly because they can't gentrify and buy unless we live in there and we sell. Ain't no how Steppin.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ain't no how Steppin Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy Net Radio. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when you think about everything that was done for people to own those homes, those brownstones, 3-family homes, as we say in Brooklyn, what was done to get those homes, the things that the parents, that our ancestors, our forebears had to do, because you're dealing with, these are people who had these homes and you're fighting with the banks. You're going through so much. And then for it to just be turned over. You look at Harlem, it does not reflect the history of the Cotton Club era. It doesn't reflect what so many grandparents, great-grandparents did to own homes there. And it all goes back to internal accountability. Like you said, it can't be purchased if it's not up for sale. It's on us.
You can't. Lathrell says, let's see, what does Lathrell say? Lathrell says, I had the experience in corporate too. I was teaching nurses about mental health services, assisting the customer care team, complication patient cases, helping the investigation team figure out how businesses were double dipping, and doing my assigned job. When it came to becoming a supervisor, they passed me over for a different person. When I had to train, found out later they just used her as a high-paid office assistant. They didn't want the best possible person. They wanted something else. So I can dig that. I remember the first time I reached the glass ceiling was in 1998, 99, 2000, somewhere in there. I was a corporate trainer for a company. Translation, I taught the people they were hiring how to do the job. And one of the people who I taught a few months later was given the job that I had applied for. This was a person who came in off of high school at the time. Not only did I have a college degree, but I've been teaching the people coming off of the street, including the person you just hired, for the last 2 years. This is the first time I met the glass ceiling. I was in my mid-20s. So yeah, I became jaded, and this is around the time that I stopped code switching forever. I refuse to never, because it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It ain't gonna matter. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. You want to rock with us, we'll roll with y'all. Because Tony says when the shooting took place, the media called it the Jewish community on Bidwell and MLK.
It sure did.
And I remember on the corner of Bidwell. And you saying MLK because you giving us a lot of grace, because I just said a few minutes ago we still call it Jackson Avenue, but on that corner the national media called it the Jewish community. I remember coming on this show and being outraged by it. That's the hood. That's where I grew up. It ain't the Jewish community. Ain't no shade to them, but it ain't theirs. Period. Lathrell says downtown Brooklyn is totally gentrified except for the projects.
I mean, go to DeKalb Avenue, and I mean, you would have never thought you'd see a Trader Joe's and all that. I mean, and it's things that are good for the community, but it's also amazing that for so long there were no grocery stores. And you had Key Food or C-Town,
food deserts
but you had a lot of food deserts. And now you bring in a certain class of people, which it is about classism. Even more than it's about racism, and you're putting in Trader Joe's, and you're talking about a Whole Foods and all these other things. Gentrification isn't just about what they do to turn the property over. It's about the sudden change in the services of the communities too. There were times in parts of Brooklyn where just New York is a trash collection on the street type city. So you put your trash out on the street, and then they come in, and they pick it up. But there were parts of Brooklyn that were not getting regular trash service until gentrification occurred. So you have to look at the fact that what you said earlier about how we behave and what we do and so on and so forth, some of that does feed into how we are reflected upon when gentrification enters the space. You don't respect yourself, why should we? That's how they feel about
There
it.
it is. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from New Den, Legacy in that radio. We're gonna move towards a close. We've been in this show for a while and we could stay in it forever, but you know, it's about that time. Um, I'm going to do these moments in Black history. I'm going to ask my sister Steph one more quick question, and then we're going to get into the missing children and the show. First thing we'll do is these moments in Black history. 1942, January, white mob abducts Cleo White, accused of assaulting a white woman in Missouri from jail as church lets out, drags him behind a car, and sets him on fire in front of two black churches. 1942. 1970, Evans versus Abney. U.S. Supreme Court upholds Georgia's court decision to close Beaconsfield Park in Macon, created by Senator Augustus Bacon for whites only instead of integrating the park. They closed it instead of integrating it.
They'd rather get rid of it. They did that with a lot of pools.
1970. 1967, deputy sheriff shoots and kills black man in Birmingham, Alabama during arrest for failing to take his dog to the vet.
Are you kidding?
Nope. I'm not kidding. 1883, Pace versus Alabama. U.S. Supreme Court opposes law criminalizing interracial sex and marriage. 1908, federal court bars mixed blood students in Alaska from white schools unless they assimilate. 1956, the last one, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s house in Montgomery, Alabama is bombed while he speaks at a mass meeting. King later addresses angry crowds and pleads for nonviolence. I do these moments in Black history every single week because I want folks to remember, and I want them to always remember and never forget what we have been through in this country at the hands of white supremacy. Now, all the moments in Black history are not based in the disparaging behavior that white supremacy creates, but I think it's important to note that this is the legacy of our country that we live in. And those of us who purport to love it or not love it, if you're going to love anything or anybody or anything, you got to love it in its entirety and you got to give it all of the facts. You got to keep it all the way funky. Bruh, if you love her, you got to love all her shit. Sis, if that's your boo, you got to take him for what he is. You can't leave out the parts you don't like just because it got warts on it. America, we can't leave out the parts that we don't like just because white folks ain't happy about it. We know what critical race theory is. That's why I give the history every single week. Why? We can talk about Black history to our children and American history to our children and let them see the full scope of everything that we have dealt with in our country, but we can't teach your kids. We can't teach your kids the truth, but our kids get to live in it. Come on, man. What's that about? I'm not that dude. We're not doing that on this show. If you're listening to this show and you want a vanilla show, turn the channel. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J Live from New Den Legacy and that radio. I'm gonna ask you this one quick question, and then we're gonna move on. The President of the United States of America, President Joseph Biden, has said that he will make sure that a black woman will be the next person on the Supreme Court. We touched it a little earlier. We didn't jump into it. I want to take a minute and jump into that because some folks are saying we should just be making sure that we put the most qualified person in that space. Why would he say that he's going to do a black person? That's racist. It's racist. No, it's not. What say you?
Why is it that we assume that the most qualified person is not a black woman? I think that's the problem. Affirmative action is not the impetus of this. This is not why Joe Biden is saying this. And affirmative action wasn't created to convince black women that they were capable and that they should be in the room. It was created to enforce that we should be present, legally be given the opportunity to be present. And by the way, affirmative action has long benefited white women more than it has benefited black women. As a matter of fact, that's how people were able to get past those so-called quotas, was putting women in the room and ignoring the part of having a diverse set of women in the room. It's why when you look at corporate America today and you look at the statistics that are directly related to education and capability, Black women are disproportionately underrepresented in comparison to the education and experiences that we have. So, to immediately go to, well, he should have the most qualified person, tells me exactly what you think. It's why we've been kept out, because you have long ignored our qualifications and capabilities. I think that what he's doing is no different than Reagan saying he was going to put a woman in. It's no different than the fact that Trump considered 11 different people. 8 of them were men, 3 were women, all were white. That when Trump said he was going to name a woman to SCOTUS, we all knew it wasn't going to be a Black woman. It was just unsaid. And the fact that when someone, for general intents and purposes with SCOTUS, has ever said, oh, he's going to name his picks, we immediately assume and are comfortable with the fact that those picks are going to be one race and usually one gender. All of that has been acceptable until a Black woman comes up in the conversation. What this country needs is a representation of the most empathetic part of society, and that is Black women. By nature, we have had to consider everyone in all of the decisions. By nature, we have had to consider how our mere presence impacts everyone, what they think of us. We have always had that. And even now, when you look at, minus someone here locally that's considered incapable of being a Black female judge who is able to look across the board and be fair, when you look at Black women, for the most part, there's a level of truth and fair applied consequence across the board. So they should be so lucky. The Supreme Court should be so lucky. Matter of fact, you should be so lucky to have 12 of us. How about that?
I love that. I love that. You know what I love more than anything else? And here's a cynical moment. I love the colossal gall coming from anybody who thinks that there's a problem with him outwardly saying that he's going to choose a Black woman, because when we look at the history of the court and we look at diversity and we look at fairness and we look at representation, if you was really about fairness, you would understand the necessity. But you're showing us who you are by objecting to this rhetoric. When you look at the history, 115, we in 2022 right now, and everybody who is in this space understands the climate that we in. And if diversity was important to you, you would be celebrating this. But you're not.
Not at all.
You're not celebrating this. You find this, you making this out to be a problem. You know why? For a couple reasons. One, maybe because you value white maleness, the patriarchy, and the supremacy above and beyond everything else. Or maybe you minimize the impact of anybody that doesn't look like that.
Right.
Up to, including, and specifically the Black woman. So you can say what you want about Joe Biden. There's plenty to say that, folks who don't oppose him, you got plenty of room to make your points. I'm not here celebrating them. I'm not here boosting them up. I've never done that. I ain't never done that. All I've ever done with Joe Biden is speak the facts. He's old as hell. I prefer somebody else be the president. I've always said that. But this right here, I think is a coup, a feather in his hat, because he's going to probably choose a Black woman that's within 5 to 10 years of our age. Yep. I'm 47. You're a little younger than I am. Someone within a few years of us. If we're fortunate, if I get what my pops got or has, I got 32 more years. He's 32 years older than I am, and he's alive. So if a 47-year-old is elected now,
we need it.
The thought is maybe they stay on that bench for 32 years. The dude Bryant is finna leave.
He
got on in his 50s, and he's leaving at 83.
Exactly.
A Black woman. You mean to tell me there are actually people on this planet that have a problem with a Black woman on the United States Supreme Court? I got a problem with you. Period.
They will tell you they have a problem with it being said that exclusively
But
that's
this
who
is
he's
where,
considered.
but this is where
I
we get.
disagree
This
with
is where
them.
we get into the. What do we just talk about? The quiet parts out loud.
That's right.
What we not saying? What? Come on,
Just
like
tell the
we
truth.
know, because see, here's the other thing, right? Even the people who we didn't want, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett.
Yes.
What's the other dude that he got on there?
Gosh,
Uh,
Neil Gorsuch.
Gorsuch, right? 3 dudes Trump put on. You can sit here and you can make all the arguments you want, but they will all qualify. If you
Right.
look at their resumes,
Right.
they will qualify.
Well,
now, did you like
Amy
them?
Coney Barrett has never litigated as a judge in a certain space, and I believe that was one of the issues with Kavanaugh too, was how much he had litigated, and of course, his bigger issue was his sex
as
issue.
a layperson.
But
as a layperson,
overall,
is that
qualified.
is that a deal breaker for a layperson?
It's not necessarily, no. For a layperson, you wouldn't even know. But for the level of qualification compared to every other appointee, Trump's appointees were at every level in the judicial system underqualified for their roles,
Which makes
overwhelmingly
which helps me make the point that whoever Joe Biden chooses is going to be at least as qualified as them. So what we talking about? What's the problem if that ain't it? We know what it is. Let's keep it funky. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from New Den Legacy in that radio. My brother Sug says they want to get rid of affirmative action because we are no longer the minorities. They made the LGBT and Q the new minority.
There are black people who are LGBTQ, so it's we got to be careful saying that, because there are black men and women who are therefore black, marginalized as far as their sexuality, and then even marginalized as far as their gender. So we do have to be careful, because a lot of times in our communities, because we are so funny about, we are so homophobic, we are overwhelmingly religious and homophobic, we forget that when something, if you're saying that the LGBTQ plus community can't have certain rights, I want you to understand that you are saying that those rights don't belong to certain black people, because there are plenty of black people that fall into that space, and they would be considered a triple.
Right. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. Cara says, I'm gonna be a judge, Steve Harvey, a judge. That's a layperson speaking.
He qualified, we qualified.
Yeah, I can dig it. Ain't no hashtag with Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and transition to the final phase of the show. We get into our missing children. We got 2. We got a young brother and a young sister. We're looking for Ernest White. Ernest White is a black male. He's missing from here in Richmond, Virginia, Cap City, December 15th. He's 15. He's 5'5". He's 100 pounds. He may still be here locally. If you see Ernest White, please contact the National Center for Missing and/or Exploited Children. Their website, missingkids.org, or contact the Henrico County Police Department at 804-501-5000. We're also today looking for another missing child. Today we're looking for Kaya Anderson. Kaya Anderson has been missing since January 29th, just a couple days ago. She's a 13-year-old black female who's 5'2", 120. Last seen wearing dark hooded sweatshirt and blue jeans and white shoes. If you've seen Kaya Anderson, please contact the Chesterfield County Police Department at 804-748-1251. If you've seen Kaya Anderson or Ernest White, please contact the National Center for Missing and/or Exploited Children and website missingkids.org, or contact them at 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. Ain't no half stepping with me, Marcus J, and our sister Steph B. Special shout out to our other third, our brother John, who is convalescing in parts unknown. Joined us in the first segment of the show, and hopefully he's still with us. He's kicking it with us, and if not, charge that to the vacation. We all appreciate that and wish that we were on one. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from New Den Legacy in that radio. All right, Steph, we're gonna close it out. We're gonna get into our rants. We're gonna get into our closings, and as customary, I will close us out, which means you're up first. I think we got it through all of the housekeeping and all the stuff that we're supposed to get through
I think
before. Yeah. So I'm gonna close this out with a rant, but I'd like for you to lead us off with yours. So what you got?
Absolutely. Thank you. I had a good time. Appreciate everybody that tuned in tonight, that had conversation with us, that listened, that gave some input. And tonight, I'm going to focus on something that I thought was somewhat sad, a sad reminder, not only of where we are right now, but of the fact that we haven't made as much progress as we should or as we would like to. And that's in regard to the entirety of the Black Lives Matters movement. So I saw an article today, I believe it was in the New Yorker. It was about Sabrina Fulton, mother of Trayvon Martin. And she had a quote that said, she was acknowledging Emmett Till's mother, Mamie, and everything that she has done as a mother in that particular part of the Black movement. And this quote from Sabrina really stuck out for me. She said, but the thing about it is, we are strong because we have to be strong, not because we want to be strong. There's a difference, you know? And when she said, when I read those words, it made me think about Black womanhood, Black motherhood, Black lives, and the fact that we deserve better than to simply be strong. Strength, while it is something that we often applaud and something that we often value and hold up, is limiting. We're built with a range of emotions. We're built with a range of emotions. And those of us walking around in this skin suit that we have should not be immediately put in the box of strong and nothing else. Strong is limiting. If it's all you got, it doesn't get you far. It causes you to not acknowledge how you're feeling internally. It reduces your voice, doesn't allow you to speak up, because in those moments where you feel something other than strong, you clam up. Your vulnerable moments are necessary for me, for your community, for the people that you're going to aid and assist. Vulnerability is necessary in order to be able to connect with one another. It's amazing that Black women, particularly, are consistently being pushed to be strong. And there's an entire white woman. Her name is Brene Brown. I love what she talks about. She digs deep on emotion and guilt and giving yourself grace. She makes millions of dollars speaking about equity as it relates to emotion, feeling the full range of emotion, dealing with your emotion, clearing up space, uncluttering your mind and your heart and your spirit so that you can progress and move forward. She is filling auditoriums and stadiums with people who come to hear that message, while many of us are following the flawed messaging that strength is all we have or all we are entitled to. Give people space to cry, to feel, to acknowledge, to emote. Give them the space and the opportunity to do more than to be strong, and watch your relationships change and grow. Watch how your trust with one another is enhanced. But as long as we expect each other to live in this space, this weird, unusual, unnatural, unreal space of strength only, we will never grow into the type of community that's able to say the real part out loud, which is that we are love and we are actually the greater part of this society. And that's my rant.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. Give my thank yous to everybody who has participated in the show tonight. You know, everybody who commented and everybody who was listening and didn't. We appreciate that support. We appreciate the Facebook Live folks, and we appreciate the YouTube Live folks, and we appreciate those folks who shared and Often we have folks who will share the missing kids because not only do I announce it on the live show, I also put it in social media. And there are a lot of usual suspects who always make sure that they forward that and they put it in their own social media. And that's how we find each other. That's how we find our missing. And so we continue to do that. We've done that for the 10 years that we've been on the air. We're celebrating into our 11th year of Ain't No Has Steppin with Marcus J and radio and internet radio, live podcasting, and all that kind of stuff. And because of you guys continuing to be here, that's why we're going to be here. The time that we come here and y'all not here with us might be the time that we consider not doing this any longer. But as long as y'all here, we'll consider being here as well. So thank you. We rocking with y'all, and we appreciate y'all rolling with us. So I will get us to our rant and into my closing here. And I get a kick. A lot of times, I become like meme king. I like memes because often they can say what you're thinking, in a more concise way, or they'll help you jog your thoughts. There was a meme that I saw that I would like to share with you guys, and I'm gonna kind of paraphrase the meme and interject my own commentary, and hopefully you'll indulge me for the less than 6 minutes that I have left, as Bob Marley sings here in the background. But the meme says, and at the top of it says, "Here's what's cool." We talked a little bit earlier in the show about the things that we often will value as being cool that maybe shouldn't be, sagging of the pants and disrespect and things of that sort. So here's what's cool. And there's a top 10. I'm going to go through all 10. Some I may give commentary, some I won't, but I'm going to go through the 10. First thing is say thank you. Somebody does something nice for you, say thank you. Like, say a heartfelt thank you. Man, I appreciate you. Say thank you. That's simple. Second one, apologize when you're wrong. Sometimes we get it in our spirit where we just can't say my bad, yo. I'm sorry. I apologize. Whatever the wording looks like, it's the spirit that comes with it that I'm speaking of. When you wrong, say you wrong. You'll garner so much grace with the person. If the person is legitimate, that you'll get more out of saying I'm sorry than you'll have lost by not saying it. So just say it. I've never understood our aversion to contrition in our community. If you mess up, say it. Acknowledge it. Let's move on. Show up on time. Do not waste my time. If I say I'm gonna be somewhere at 6 o'clock, I'm probably gonna be there at 5:55. I don't expect you there at 5:55 with me, but I do expect you there at 6 o'clock. Don't waste my time. Don't waste each other's time. Don't waste your time. The older we get, the less time we have. And those of us in our mid-40s, it's a good bet we on the back nine. At 47 years old, I don't have an expectation of living to 94. I hope I do. But I probably live more than I'm going to live. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. That's a good way to get me to never deal with you again. Don't waste my time. Be nice to people, man. Just because you know them, that's not the only reason to be nice. Be nice to a stranger. You never know what somebody's going through. I know I be going through stuff. I know Steph be going through stuff. I know John goes through stuff. Everybody who's watching and listening right now is going through stuff. Costs you nothing to show grace to another person. Just be nice. And if you can't be nice, be invisible. That's simple. When somebody's talking, please shut up until they finish. Listen without interrupting. Huge pet peeve of mine. I don't always speak on it, but I promise you, it's a huge pet peeve of mine. If I talk while you trying to talk, I need you to check me. You know why? Because I learned how to apologize. It's all about being courteous, being nice to people. People be liking to get their thought out. People love to hear themselves talk, and it's okay because guess what? So do you. Give them a chance. Don't cut them off. Let them finish, even if they are saying something stupid. Because you might say something stupid too. And that's just the way you converse with folks. Give and take. Equal time. Every time I watch a football game and I see the clock time is lopsided, I don't care about the score in that sense. I care about the clock time. Why they got the ball for 15 minutes and you got the ball for 30 minutes in the fourth quarter? Like, come on. What's going on here? There's an imbalance. And obviously, one side is way ahead of the other. It shouldn't be the same when you're conversing with like-minded people. Shut up and listen. That simple. Admit when you're wrong. It's hard. It kind of goes with, apologizing when you're wrong. But admit when you're wrong. What's so hard about it? Like, yo, my bad, I got that wrong. We just try so hard to be always in the know and always in the right that we don't have the grace that we need to be giving to people. One day, if you live long enough, you too shall seek some grace. Give it. It's not hard. At least it shouldn't be. Follow your dreams, man. Life is too short. Back to the whole back nine thing. If it's something that you want to do it. What's stopping you? Money? Somebody around you that doesn't believe in you? There's a way that you can do it. I don't want to evoke these people in a sense that, I want to celebrate them in a inappropriate way. But I mean, Zuckerberg was with the homies in his dorm room when they all came up with Facebook that you watching us on right now. And he gave that opportunity to a bunch of people, and it was a few of them that believed in it. And those few are billionaires now. So if you got a dream, follow it. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't do something. Not even your mama or your daddy or your wife or your husband or somebody else that you trust. Nobody should have the kind of power over you where they could tell you what you can't do. Not even you. Be a mentor, man, because there are a lot of people that can use your grace. There are a lot of people that can use your wisdom. No matter who you are, you've lived long enough to learn something. Give it back. Pay it forward. I remember 1997 in June, I was in my car leaving Virginia on the way to New Jersey to my sister's high school graduation. I'm in my car. My car broke down in Fredericksburg on its way to New Jersey. I'm pulled over on the side of the road. I'm nervous. I'm upset. I'm in a piece of shit car. And, it's just my life situation. After about an hour on the road, another car pulls up. It's a brother who's on his way from Greensboro to Newark. Now, there's some serendipity here because I got ties to Greensboro, and obviously I got ties to Newark, New Jersey. But here you had this stranger who pulled over, and he stayed with me, and he helped me out. Now, this wasn't on to some mentor stuff, but where the mentor thing, yes, Lathrell, the station wagon. Yes, the station wagon. Yes. This isn't a story about mentorship, but it is a story about paying it forward. After this man stayed with me for an hour, and my girlfriend, who later became my wife, came to pick me up and brought me back to Richmond. And that's a different piece of the story that I want to get to. But the piece that I want to get to is I was just blown away that he spent his time there with me on the road. I wouldn't have stopped, let alone stayed. He was with me for at least a couple hours. And he said to me, all I want you to do is pay this forward. That's it. So all he wanted me to do was pay it forward. You mean to tell me you're going to stay out here all this time with me and all you want me to do is be nice to somebody else? I can do that. I can do that. And so a big part of my life since then is trying to make sure that I do that. He wrote down his phone number. And he wrote down 6 digits. I have not seen him since that day. Doesn't need to. Maybe he was an angel sent from the creator, or maybe he was just a real nice dude who stopped to hang out with me. But he left me with the jewel of pay it forward. And that's what I want to do. Learn people's names. Don't be calling people names that ain't their name. If you can say Tchaikovsky, if you can say Michelangelo, if you can say Kardashian, you can say Lathrell, you can say Keon, you can say Stephanie or Marcus or Shayna or Tamara or Damon or Cara. You can say these names. You can say Lathrell. That's right. You can say it. Learn people's names and say it right. And if you think you're saying it wrong, ask for clarity. I promise you, they will gladly correct you with no shade because they would appreciate the attempt of you even trying to act like you know their names. If you're going to address me, get it right. Do not call me Marky. That is not my name. Unless you grew up with me, don't call me Mark. That's not my name. My name is Marcus or Marcus J. That's appropriate. You can't call me that. Don't call me nothing. Period. Last one. This is one of my favorite ones. This one can be hard depending on your mood and depending on the person around you. But hold the door open for somebody. Gives you an opportunity to briefly exchange a pleasantry and share your soul and spirit with another human being. The greatest joy in life is sharing life with another human being. Doesn't necessarily mean you gotta love them or like them, but you can't live in this world by yourself. And interaction is key. Be nice to people. Hold the door open for somebody. The most common way to be nice to somebody is to hold the door open for them as you're walking into a space as they run behind you. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. Hold the door. Oh man, thank you. You get a nice little thrill from that. And if you don't, you should. Be nice to people. It's not hard. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Somehow it is, but it shouldn't be. That's 10. I'll give you more. Maybe one day I will. The meme only gave 10. That's all I got. Mostly because I've already started the song over and I need to get us the hell on out of here so we can go about our business tonight and come back and do this again for y'all next week. So this is the end of the show. I want to remind everybody independence is key to building your legacy. If John was here, I'd be fist bumping him. So I'll just chuck deuce and say peace to all of the stars and all of the squares and the abundance of water. Fool is thirsty. Those are the words of Bob Marley, who twice in the 6.5-minute song you hear singing in the background. And as we said a few times earlier in the show, authenticity has no competition. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. 10 years. 10 years we doing this. And hopefully 10 more we'll continue. But if not, chalk it up to the experience of life and not to our hearts. Because we love y'all. We rocks with y'all. We appreciate you for saying that we had a good show, Latrell. We appreciate you for saying we had a great show, Dating Pool Diva. We miss you. We love you. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. For our brother John, who's not with us tonight, who joined us earlier. For my co-host, who's always on my right, who I love, who's great, who gets the fist bump. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from New Den of Legacy and Net Radio. We'll be back real soon. Peace, y'all. Holla at your boy and your sister. Peace.
Oh yeah, I'm with this, with it. I'm just gonna lay back and I'ma drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. I'm about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready, let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We suburban the B, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, we full force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, we full force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk. no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters Talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizzy Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 and 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepper with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Weapon Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk.